of the game, and I would never leave it. Have you ever had your heart so broken, tore you into pieces? And maybe I can't settle down, got motion with this piece shit. And then I have your heart, maybe you can keep it until die. Mama cry. It's so hard to leave these streets alone. Streets alone. It's so hard to leave these streets alone. Streets alone. It's a God to make the people home. People home. Yeah. Hey, that's my shit. Yeah. Alright, bet. I ain't gonna lie, I had to play that because we about to get it started with a hood classic, bro. I ain't gonna, I've been watching this nigga for the longest time, bro. I've been watching this nigga for the longest time, bro. Crazy thing is, we really the same age or some shit, but he just really been out there, bro. Shit. But we about to watch, I left the house at 3 a.m. and this happened with Primetime Hitler. Hood!
Good, what's hood, what's poppin'? Hey, listen, we got that boy Cam back, recording me live in action. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know what I'm about to do right now. Hold on, bro. Nigga trying to crack me with, bro, it's already 50 degrees. That's why you need Cam recording, because anything happen at any moment. Let's go on about our night. I don't even know what I was about to say, but bro, it's already 50 degrees. Oh!
Yeah, that motherfucker might be mud.
Oh my God. I'm getting great. We got Cam back at the show off.
Richard.
You know, some decent essentials. You know what I'm saying? I get to see it in full effect. Back in action. I need a haircut though. We're gonna get that later this week. Got a lot going on this week, so we just vlog, trying to catch old job. One of my dogs told me pop up on him. I forgot my other phone.
He really cranking us like it's summertime, bro.
I'm at this little spot. I know, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I ain't been getting a lot of club vlogs lately because I don't really be out like that no more. I can't juggle drinking a whole bunch and playing soccer. Can't juggle that, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like I just get on the field for 10 minutes and, oh yeah, look at me running around for 10 minutes. No, I play the whole 90 minutes. Like, I be getting long playing time, so can't really juggle it. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I'll do a little chill shit. Now we about to go do it right now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had practice tonight. You know, it's an off day. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, Cam, I'm a full-blown athlete now. For you about to see, you about to be around. You about to be around. It's December. You know what I'm saying? You might be cold. Find you some gloves, man. Because these nights, whew, it's getting chilly, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's good news for y'all, because y'all finally get to see me in action. You know what I'm saying? I've been waiting for this special moment. I've really been waiting for P7 to really show y'all, like, you know, the day-to-day, really the day-to-day shit that I've really been on. And I've been back on my athlete shit. Y'all gonna see very soon. You did.
Oh, I ain't gonna lie, I thought I was about to get copyright like shit.
Pay my money alone. Rich for real, better watch your tone. I be
Hold on. What the fuck was that?
real, better watch it. Yeah, she loving the way that I put it on. All of my ice, she gon' put it on. Young and haven't paid my money alone. Rich for real, better watch your
Hey, nigga, Prime. I need that shit. I need that shit. I need that shit.
tone. I
You have to get the
Shit
back.
hard. If that bitch like an interlude in the middle of a song, bro.
You know it's
You still record, you know I'm gonna talk my shit in this bitch.
it's my birthday month, right?
Do you know it's my birthday right now? Fuck
Her
what you talking
birthday's
about.
right now, Drizzy Day.
Oh, for you,
We worry about you in 16 days, prime time.
December 2nd.
Damn, aggressive ass hoe.
We celebrate her birthday then.
We all fam. Thank you. In the black truck, we all not fam right now, but we cool. You know the vibes.
When we in the club,
Listen, man,
We
this is
all
a great
fam.
month. Sagittarius
Yes, the
month.
fuck it is.
You know, Sagittarius. You know what I'm saying?
Hello. I ain't gonna lie, I don't know nobody's sign but mine. I gotta Google you motherfuckers.
What's your sign? What's your sign is?
I'm a Leo, baby.
yeah, nigga.
Hello.
Yeah, nigga.
Shit.
Y'all be cool.
Leos be chill.
I ain't gonna lie, we gang.
And my
We let
cousin a
everything
Leo.
slide.
Yeah.
But we 3-0
I feel like
twin.
the people I love the most, Leos. You and Zayla.
Hey, we 3-0 twin. We let it slide though.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, we going to the next spot. Where we going? What's the place called?
D&D, do not disturb us, losers.
Oh, okay. Do not
I know that's
disturb us.
motherfucking right.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's the type of sign I put on my door past 12 a.m.
Fast.
And it's past 12 a.m.
Right,
Do not disturb.
You got YouTube or Bluetooth or aux?
Yeah, you can use that. No.
Right here, this aux?
Right now.
They put on a tight beat. Don't put on a real instrument, put on a tight
Can you see us in that camera?
No,
I was gonna say,
Whatever happened in the car
if you put
stays
this
in the car.
motherfucker in the front
Oh my
of your camera, we green.
No.
no,
No,
the
you gotta
light
put it in
is
front
Yeah, no,
crazy.
of course, yeah.
Thank you. Hello.
No,
Here we go.
I got one though.
Now
Here,
redo that.
I got one.
I ain't no criminal, but I might lose my hose for this.
Hey, I fuck with Shorty, boy.
Let's just keep it nothing but a motherfucker.
Hey, no, for real. It's P7. We gotta keep
Just know we all in the car. We're all fam.
Can you turn us up, Mr. Drive Man? We got here to be.
I don't know what to say.
Don't know what to say. Do this every day. A bitch cannot get this dick if she don't pay. Hey, I don't tell a bitch where I stay. Fuck these niggas, they all fake. Just like they jury, just like they pieces. Damn.
He was about to go in, fool. Hold on.
Run that shit back.
Hold on. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, somebody's gonna freestyle, fool. Chill the fuck out, fool. Chill the fuck out, fool. Cause I was.
Reverse. Ain't that little shit out.
Halo should have got in this truck. Halo should have got in this truck. Ripping it home.
Gonna freestyle like a motherfucker.
Halo gonna sit right here next time.
I don't know who Halo is, but I already know. If it's a nigga, bro.
My fault.
Who next?
We in the black truck. I got my bitches with me, and I don't give a fuck. They call me T3. I got freestyle for you, bro. And I don't give a fuck. I got the money for the bitches. I trick on all my bitches. Fuck you, mean I fuck these niggas, then I pass them to my head.
Hey,
Hey!
we can get that bitch on the album.
That shit. Hey! Don't give a fuck. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta hear this. Y'all cranking back here. Hold on.
I ain't gonna lie, yeah. Hold on.
I ain't niggas say they getting money, shit count. Really don't know where to start. They don't need to be the same nigga with some fame and cars.
Oh, that's it? That's it? Hold on.
Hold on. Fame and cars. Fame and cars, nigga, we got it all. Me and my niggas school, we got so many M's, we bout to ball. Hey, we boss our hard, we'll never fall. Hey, my money tall, look, I'm a real P from DC. These bitches know me, I am very OC. I fuck her in the back of the truck, in the back of the Maybach. She said, damn, Prime, can I get my date back? No, hell nah, you don't get no dates no more. You should've fucked the first time, yeah. No more. Straight no more. Hey, got this cake some more. Oh, another thing, hold on. Drizzy weed. I like that.
If a bitch fuck with me, I'ma send her ass to Parks Mall.
Yeah, but the pussy good like I don't know better. I'll get her. She just wanna fuck her.
Hey.
Yeah, but the pussy good like I don't know better. I'm a real hoe getter. She just wanna fuck her. Hey, it be hard to freestyle out of Detroit, so.
Nah, that shit hard.
You got that shit. Come on, let me hear you. Big girl, yeah.
Yeah.
So that little shit, 16 days, nigga.
Hey.
Hold on. Today the first. No, it's today first.
Today the 3rd, baby. You 2 days late.
Today the third.
Hold on.
Today the third.
I done paid my 4 pieces today. I don't give a fuck. They know I got that cake. I'm a young nigga. And I really...
I ain't gonna lie, he was about to go in, fool. He was about to go in, fool. He was about to fucking go in, fool.
I done paid 4 bitches like today or like yesterday. I just fucked the bitches Saturday. That shit hard. You gotta rap fast.
I don't give a fuck. I'm mad at my bitch, but I just still...
Nah, that nigga, you need to get that nigga in the studio with him. Not for no lyrics or nothing like that, just for the flow. Cause like he can hear it, he just can't speak it, and the probably got the words, but like that nigga flow is, like his flow is too chill on some shit. He would never. I don't feel like that nigga on some. I feel like that nigga would never hyper rap on some shit. That shit. Hey, that shit hard. That shit hard. All I know how to do is get money and fucking adapt. If that's not the hardest future bar you ever heard in your life, cause goddamn.
How you play this?
I don't get no fuck. 30,000, 20,000 on my rig, 40 on my
What this is? What this is?
Hold up. We going acapella. We going acapella.
Oh my god.
I like that way that.
We going acapella.
Thank you.
We going acapella.
Crazy, I ain't gonna lie.
Go
Screenshot
acapella.
that beat.
Go acapella.
That bitch was coming crazy.
What y'all? I'm gonna get on that hustle too.
Hell no, I'm getting on that one.
Go ahead.
I'm done.
Stop, pop it up.
Hold on, who's rapping back there?
Who birthday girl?
Pop
Come
out.
on, birthday
Pop
girl.
out, Jay.
I wasn't right.
Drizzy ain't got shit for
I'm
us. I'm ready. Jay got it.
Oh.
Alright, go ahead.
Drop it.
Alright, fuck it. I'll go.
Alright, go ahead.
Let's go.
Alright, hold up.
Jay gonna drop that shit.
20 on my dinner work. 50 under my right arm.
got it.
They want me dead, but they took cash.
I ain't got no watch, but I got
money on my head, but I ain't scared. I'll get your life gone.
Thank you. Tell him play my motherfucking song.
Hey, this shit remind me of that video on Instagram that could be like,
Hey, who the fuck phones is these?
Tell him to play it.
Play what?
Play that shit.
You wanna connect to Bluetooth?
Yo.
Put my phone on that bitch.
Yeah.
Handle that.
That was.
Handle that.
20 on my dinner work. 50 under my right
Fuck up this
arm.
software update.
They
Oh,
want
I
me
ain't
dead, but
gonna lie,
they took
y'all.
cash.
Nobody update their phone. Hello? Sony, y'all hear me? Nobody update phone unless you trying to get caught the fuck up. Hello? I ain't gonna hold you. Them motherfuckers are letting you literally record FaceTime calls and hear the audio. You got me fucked up, not doing it.
Huh?
Out of here.
what you mean?
Like screen recording, you know how you can't hear the audio? You can hear that shit now. Everything. Phone calls, FaceTime, no.
Hey, bang that right. Turn right.
Bang that bitch, please.
Yeah,
Quick.
turn right.
Fast and hurry.
That's
Turn right.
That's OD.
What's the goddamn Bluetooth chip?
see.
Overly.
That joint look old.
Yeah, I heard.
Hell nah, bruh. Oh, yeah,
y'all got me at, bro.
You never been here?
Who phone is it? This your phone? You
I
first
don't like going out every day.
I don't go out every day, but I just moved here and I've been here, what?
We just need one song while we get our shit together.
Yes. Bluetooth. Let's go. My Chevy.
Yeah, hit per.
Device. Add device. Okay.
This shit gotta be hard.
You gotta
Where you
I ain't
want
gonna lie, y'all. It's a year old, but I do want to
you
rap
want us
this
to hear
bitch.
this motherfucker?
I think it's because I'm drunk.
It
No,
gotta
I
be
don't know if you
over.
heard this before.
Are you in, hon? Look
Which
for
one is it?
my Chevy.
Maybe
Look
I
for
need
my
to
Chevy.
at least.
Trying to help. Trying to be famous, man. I'm trying to be anything.
Yeah, good for
I'm good. I'm good. It's my birthday today, but
Oh, happy birthday.
I ain't gonna lie, it's like different levels to this shit, right? But, bro, dead ass on my birthday, while in college, because I was paying for myself to put myself through college, bro. I was at work. I was Ubering. I was at Raising Cane's, nigga. I was at Chipotle. Sick. And honestly, I would rather spend my birthday on the couch than at work. Like, I honestly wouldn't even go nowhere on some shit. Like, that shit wouldn't even interest me. Because going out, though, didn't even interest me on some shit. But spending your birthday at work, bro, is like the most depressing thing ever. And spending your birthday as an Uber driver has to feel OC. OC is shit. I feel like the only people, that have an excuse on some shit are fucking immigrants. Type shit. Anybody else that was born in this country, like even me right now at 26, bro. It's no excuse. And I know that like everybody can't be a millionaire type shit, but everybody can at least try. I don't want everybody to like try and fail, but I know that like if you try long enough, it'll eventually happen on some shit. And then you wouldn't even have to stay in America on some shit. You could literally just go where the fuck you want to be on some shit. Like I want to go to Monaco.
December 2nd?
Hey, do you drink?
Nah, I don't drink. I only smoke. I only smoke.
What you be smoking on, cuz?
Sir, don't get that together. We plugged in.
Right
You
here.
smoke weed?
Of course. I'm from Queens, Bridge. You know how it is if I can get to I'm from Queens.
This song.
This whole hit like get down on it.
And when I get in the studio and do this, bitch, it's over for you hoes. I ain't no real rapper. This shit real fun. Come on. Hold on. Yeah.
We need y'all to turn the back. Music video vibe. No, no.
Turn it up just a little bit. All right, right here. Here we go. I'm the type of bitch he fuck with. You a dummy bitch, he calling you to crash out. You know I ain't with the fuck shit. He bling me, ho, you know he finna cash out. The nigga love that I'm a gangsta ass bitch. Riding through Atlanta with my gangsta ass friends. Lashing out a baddie, ass getting fatter. Bitches still mad shit, they don't even matter. Man, you bitches need a cheat code. Man, you bitches tryna ball, man, you hoes missing free throws. My brother told me you's a freak hoe. Pussy pee and you broke, you pushing the wrong pee hoe. But I'm shining any weather. I got that Cartier chain, zirconia in your bezel. Hey, ho, do better. Hey, I got a couple breadwinners who all about their cheddar.
Yeah, I know this shit.
Look like shit. And we gon' talk that shit. Fuck you mean?
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm drinking it over for the hoes.
Next time, baby.
Come on, let's slide.
Over with. Let's get the fuck out.
this vibe. It's old shit.
Yeah.
The way you make me feel.
We going? Put it in designer. Huh? Hold up.
I know that's motherfucking right. Yo. You pushing the wrong pee hole, but I shine in any weather. You got that cardi ass chains, the Coney in your bezel.
Hey. WVid. I had a list, low-key, that I wanted to watch with nobody. Yeah, I know. Don't judge me, bro.
Well,
I'm gonna pause that. Put on a song while I go to the restroom.
Game and I would never leave it. Have you ever had your heart so broke it tore you into pieces? Baby, I can't settle down. Got motion with this peach shit. I know you want me to have your heart, but baby, you can keep it. I've never been the same ever since my nigga Huncho died. My nigga still in the hood, still out committing homicide. Ever since they killed my brother, I got murder on my mind. I'm still dangling in these streets, I know that made my mama cry. It's so hard to leave these streets alone. It's so hard to leave these streets alone. Free the guys, I need my people home. It took some time out just to be alone. Yeah. Thought I was in love, now I'm sick of you. She wanna find out what this pimpin' do. Pull up to the trenches where all of my niggas, I just might go hit me a lick or two. Pull up in that stolo, got your hoe sniffing the cocoa. Pour up my codeine. This Wakiana got me moving slow-mo. She liking me cause I'm a hustler. Grip her neck while I'm crushing her. My baby having that Florida water. Sector reflects you in Landry. She saying, P, why you keep lying to me? It might be the demon inside of me. Baby, my head not right. I can't stop thinking about killers and robbery. Get that boy killed for that bankroll. Get that boy killed for that bankroll. My niggas gon' do what I say so. My nigga gon' do what I say so. You cannot come to the jungle. I swear that we ready to rumble. She asking me why I'm so cocky. I never knew how to be humble. Yeah. I told her I love the game and I would never leave it.
Have you ever had your heart so broke it tore you into pieces? Baby, I can't settle down, got motion with this piece shit. I know you want me to have your heart, but baby, you can keep it. I never been the same ever since my nigga Huncho died. My nigga still in the hood, still out committing homicide. Ever since they killed my brother, I got murder on my mind. I'm still dangling in these streets, I know that made my mama cry. It's so hard to leave these streets alone. It's so hard to leave these streets alone. Free to God,
Alright, bet. That song's so hard to me, bro. About to watch Jake car shop in Germany, cause I want to so bad.
Good morning. It is currently 7:30 in the morning, and today is a very special day because we are going to be opening another Vlogmas present. So what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Now you might think this present is pretty small, but what's inside this is going to take us on an adventure that is really big. So let's go ahead and open up Vlogmas Day 3 from Grail. It's my United States passport because, boys, we're going to Germany. Now, I know this isn't necessarily a mod for one of the cars, but we are going to Germany to experience Essen Motor Show. Basically, the German equivalent to what SEMA was for us this year. It is going to be insane, and there are going to be a ton of cars that we can take a lot of inspiration from for my builds that I have going right now. And also, we get to hang out with Grail and experience Germany for the first time. So let's go ahead, start up the car that has the Grail exhaust on it, and then go to the airport. This Grail exhaust sounds so good. And don't worry, we're gonna cold start back in once my new valves show up. Because my OEM ones burned out, and Grail is actually sending me their special kit. So we're gonna get even more Grail goodies on this car.
Oh my god, bro. It's like ASMR.
Well, it's the day after Thanksgiving, so everywhere is full. So we have to park literally the farthest away from the airport. All right, let's go. All right, say goodbye. We will be seeing her in the next video. Well, that was a short flight. The next flight is 10 hours long. Well, we made it to Germany. This is really weird. Anil picked us up. He works with Grail. He had to go get a parking ticket, but we made it. We made it safely. This place is 9 hours ahead from where I'm used to living, so I feel like when I get back home, I'm gonna be super tired, but I slept on the plane. Everything was smooth. The only thing was I was running pretty fast for my one connecting flight, but we're good now. Well, after I filmed that last clip, it was all downhill from there. Once I got to Essen Motor Show, jet lag hit me hard. Definitely do not recommend. Like I said, that 9-hour time difference, even with sleeping on the plane, did not help at all. But today is a new day. Today is Sunday, and let me tell you, from what I saw yesterday at Essen Motor Show, it's just as big as SEMA, but it's still very different. So I'm gonna take you over there, but look at this. This is outside my hotel room. We got a G81, a green one, and then right over there, we got an RS6. So it's safe to say, it's gonna be a good day. Now you guys might be wondering, how was I able to get all the other videos done and be able to film a video every day from now until Christmas Day if this whole trip is 4 days long? well, I hate to break it to you, but I pre-filmed the first 2 videos.
Yo, it's 2:16
that way
the
I'd
journey
be
right now.
able to go on this trip. So I think I started filming Vlogmas on like the 25th. So don't get mad, I had to do it to be able to go to this. But after this time, we can't make one mistake because we get back on the 3rd, and this is the 3rd video. So yeah, hopefully I don't mess up this whole series. And that's a Grail exhaust, right? Yeah. That's why it sounds so good.
Loudest one.
And here's the Grail booth. This is where all their cars are showcased. I kind of got to talk fast because of the music. Now you'll notice the one difference between this show and SEMA is the amount of BMWs and Audis are here. At SEMA, there's a lot more variety, a lot more supercars. Here, they're far and few between when it comes to supercars. There's a few, and I'll show you where they are, but majority of them are just BMWs, like right here. Don't think it's Verde Mantis, but it still looks cool. I would never wide body mine, but for those that do, thank you, because it still looks really cool. I think that's the N Largo body kit on A12. You got the new M5. All right, modified, they actually look pretty sick. I just can't get over how much they weigh. And then,
Damn.
of course, over here, we got some
They still
fellow
fast,
V10s. But these are race
I
cars.
still give me an M4.
Super Trofeo Evo.
Wow.
Another G81, and I think it looks like it's Smoke Topaz. Such a beautiful color.
The color
Who
is
would've thought
sick.
brown would look so good.
Shit's ugly.
RS6 Avant. Then we got G87. We got an M3 CS. You know, green cars are starting to grow on me, obviously. Then here's a Porsche. Honestly, considering we're in Germany, there aren't that many Porsches here. It's mainly BMW, which I'm not complaining. Of course, since we're in Germany, there's several Mercedes in here too. Oh, I'll actually show, there's some AMG 1s that are here that look insane. As you guys can tell, I'm trying to show you everything right now because within the next 20 minutes, this place will be packed with people. There's also a few JDMs, which is kind of cool.
Baby, what a
whenever you
love,
see
what a
Huracan,
love
you gotta go look
at.
at it. Another wide-bodied one. I don't know what's up with these shows in Liberty Blocks, but
I like
there's
that one.
another Huracan.
Damn, I'm over here pointing like y'all can see.
You
That
know
that
what?
BMW
I
was
think we
sick.
need an exhaust like that on the
Gosh.
Camry. They either did get one or they're about to get one. Another Huracan. I don't know what's up with these
What
shows.
the fuck was that? That I like that one. Like I'll pull up in something like that. On me.
Shows in Liberty Blocks, but there's
Something
another
satin.
Huracan.
Some linen. Linen satin.
You know what?
Just cause I
think we
can.
need an exhaust like that on the Camry. They either did get one or they're about to get one. And right here they're staging all the cars, hoping that Max will show up. That way you can potentially buy one. Well then look at this.
Max
the
who?
car yellow
Not
lineup.
Max. Wow.
I saw this yesterday and I knew I had to show you. This looks
Fucking sick.
insane. Then we got the Wolf of Wall Street spec right here.
Ah!
We got an AMG GT Black Series and a Testarossa at the end. Found it. Found it. This car is insane.
Oh. I seen that shit.
AMG 1.
Oh my god. That-
Videos and photos
those are like
do
rare.
this car justice. It looks so good, and how wide it is it's crazy how wide this car is. Like if you've seen an Aventador in person, it's very comparable
What? Is that the intake on top?
to the rear, but then the front is just as wide. Then look at the active venting right here. Absolutely wild.
What the fuck?
I need to get a big turbo and do that to mine. I don't know, this car looks kind of quick.
The Lego McLaren.
Maybe Remy should do that to his 720 instead of
It actually
fixing
drives.
Probably the only AMG I'd ever own, but it wouldn't be a race car like that. Dude, there's just so much to take in. This is what the... Yeah, the quality of cars here is
insane.
Unmatched. Another car specifically built for Max. The one I say, give it 20 minutes, this place will be packed. Look at this. The main door is over there and they just opened it.
The Japanese car scene is
hundreds of
really
people
sick
inside
too.
this building. Now, honestly, this is the car that we should be talking
Even though
about.
it's
me
mainly
potentially getting.
Toyotas.
I know that I have mainly normal cars, aside from the Huracan. I've always wanted a Porsche, but the only Porsche I've ever wanted was a 991 3RS. And I don't know if we should change the plans next year and have a goal of potentially getting a 3RS. I don't know how you guys would feel about it, because this car is basically a completely finished car. There's not much else you can do to it except drive it.
You can't go
and
wrong
have
with a
fun
911,
it.
man.
Maybe lower it, maybe change the wheels, and definitely straight pipe it. But from Porsche, this car is already perfect. It has the giant wing. And these cars are selling for around $200,000, so this wouldn't be a car I get right away. But I'm still just trying to figure out if I want one of these or if I want two normal cars. And then, like I said, goal in November is to get an Aventador. But I want you guys to let me know what you guys think, if this should be the goal for next year or not. Because I still want my channel to be somewhat relatable
trying to
and
pull
have,
up in the
like, a
Lambo.
lot of cars that we can all enjoy and that we've all seen in real life. Because when you start getting into cars like this, it's really hard for you to actually, like, I don't know, relate to them, because not everybody can get a car like this. And luckily I would be fortunate enough to potentially get one in the distant future. But I don't know. I like building cars where I can build one and then you guys can send me photos of the car that you have that's the exact same. Whereas for this, less people have these, so less people can actually like have personal experience with them. I don't know if I'm making good sense with that, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. So, yeah, I don't know, I'm just in love with this, especially the ultraviolet.
It makes sense on some shit, but that'll be, it's still a fun
See, it's
car.
either we
It's
get
still
a
good car.
G3RS or we get this and a G82. I think this and a G82 would be cooler because two cars are better than just one. All right, well, I think I showed you majority of the cars that I wanted to show you today. I'm going to show you the 992 GT3RS that Grail has tomorrow when there isn't as much music playing. But Anil, where are we going now?
We're going to the Pace Museum from JP Performance, who's like the biggest car influencer in Germany.
Yeah, like this guy, he makes like $1 million a year selling car calendars of his cars. Like apparently this guy runs Germany, he has like over 2 million subscribers on YouTube. So we're gonna see what that's all about, because apparently he has the craziest car collection out of probably all the YouTubers in Germany. Here's some of the cars in the parking lot. We got a GT M3, RSQ8R. Just casual. That's kind of cool. Probably one of the very few American cars in this parking lot, a C8 Corvette. And of course the fastest car here, the Volkswagen. There we go. That's the only AMG I'd ever own. AMG GTR. Not a GTS, not a GT. That. Okay, now I can turn you back on. All right, well, this is my last day inside these buildings of Essen Motor Show, and we get to say goodbye to the Grail booth. Right here is the owner, Patrick. We actually saw him when we went to Bimmer Invasion, but fun fact, I did not know you were the owner. That's funny. So this is his 992 GT3RS. That sounds insane. He's about to start it for us. This is not the 3RS that I can afford. I can only get a 991 if we go that route instead of a Z06 and a G82. So I think you need to start it with your new Grail system.
It's just like music to my ears, but
Yeah, I think I might need a Porsche. That thing sounds insane.
bro, and I know like
The bucket seats,
shit don't do
wild.
justice. I know in person.
So it's
crazy.
gray underneath.
Yes.
This is wild. I've only driven Turbo S like 4 years ago, and this is way more updated.
I've just driven it before we wrapped it. I would.
This is way more
That nigga look.
updated.
That nigga
I've
feet,
just
boy.
driven it before we wrapped it. I would say for 20 miles.
That's it?
Flawed it a little bit, yeah. So I got an impression. The car drives totally nice. So
That's
handling and
crazy.
everything, I would say it's the best car I've ever driven when it comes to handling. Performance-wise, he could have like, I would say 200 horsepower more.
Yeah.
But still, it's a great car for what you got, and the performance on the track is like.
Is it worth the $400,000?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Damn.
Not sure. So compared to what I've driven besides from the Porsche,
Like a 720 or something.
like 720, yes, I wouldn't say that. No, it's a little bit too expensive. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
but the prices will come down. So next 1 or 2 years, pretty sure the whole car will be around something 250 euros or 270 euros.
Right, because this has like 5,000 miles or 7,000 kilometers. So
yeah. So
you-
we didn't bought a brand new one because we would have to wait for I don't know how long.
Right, and you want to make exhaust for this
Yeah,
because
right.
that is what they do. They make some of the best exhaust systems out there, and you guys have your own facilities, right, that create the exhausts?
Yes. We have our own factory here in Germany. So at least we have 2 factories, so we're quite big. Yeah, and we are manufacturing everything in-house. So that gives us the opportunity, like with the Porsche, we decided before 3 months that we want to have a Porsche system and starting advertising the system here on SM Motor Show. So we were like kind of spontaneous buying a Porsche.
Yeah.
And then we actually start developing for this system before 2 months. And the good thing is, since we have the factory in-house and can do everything, R&D, laser cutting, bending, everything in-house, we were quite quick. So was able to do that in time and have it ready for the show here, and we're able to present the exhaust here.
Yeah.
As you have heard before, so.
Yeah, and all their exhausts sound insane, and they use thicker metal, right? That way, like, it maintains a deeper tone, and like it eliminates a lot of like the tinniness that you will get in a lot of different exhausts that come out like from other companies,
I mean,
right?
for you, it's hard to mention because you don't use the metric system.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
But actually, we are using 2 millimeter of wall thickness, which is, I don't know how much in inches, but it's like quite big. The next biggest wall thickness we know from competitors is 1.5 mil. So we add like 30% in material.
But it adds weight, but it helps with sound a lot.
Yes. We are not about the weight, you know, because we also use just stainless steel, no titanium. Titanium is not a product for exhausts. Besides your Akrapovic, and it's okay, but all the other grade 1, grade 2 titanium materials which are on the market available, they are not created to...
Is it, especially like for like race cars and stuff, like the amount of like heating and cooling can eventually like, you have the potential to mess up the welds or like welds failing or cracking, right?
Titanium is not as flexible as stainless steel is.
Mhm.
So don't get me wrong, we can Google it, but I think 6 times. So stainless steel is 6 times more flexible than stainless steel is. And as you mentioned, exhaust gases are getting really hot.
Yeah.
So the exhaust needs to be able to compensate the heat. So it needs to be flexible. And exhaust gases can be up to 600, 700 Celsius, which is like crazy high. And grade 1 or grade 2 titanium, which is obviously where 99% of your American titanium exhausts are from, are starting getting rusty or cracking down at 250, 300 Celsius. So I wouldn't say it's not the best choice for an exhaust, or for us it was not the right choice. So we never started with titanium and don't see a point in it. And the weight on an exhaust, I mean, come on, saving 5 pounds, 10 pounds on an exhaust system, just lose some weight, you know,
especially on street cars, like weight doesn't matter that
it doesn't
much, right?
matter. So it's all about the sound.
Yeah.
And so you have to go with bigger diameters and high quality materials, high quality stainless steel, high quality valves, and electronics and everything. So make sure the quality is on point and don't care as much about the material you're using.
Yeah. Now, right now, we're gonna show you some of the quality of Grail. So this is the exhaust system that's on this car right now, right?
Yeah, right. Both systems are the system for the Porsche. The right one is the street legal version for Europe. This is where the gasoline particle filter or catalytic converter is sitting normally. And the left one is our new development, which is limited to 50 pieces. So this includes the long tube header, because I have not seen a header like this for that car, which is that long. So we made it like you can add a catalytic converter in that because there's no space. But the benefit is we have like the longest headers I have seen on the market for the car to add the best possible sound. When you come back in summer maybe to drive my Porsche with me together on the Nürburgring, that could happen if you want to. We can get an impression of that sound. Yeah, so this is sounding obviously.
Because then we can get over 4,000 RPM over there.
Oh, not only that. Yeah.
And then not only do they make Porsche exhausts, they also have the Grail exhaust on my M4, and they also have a Grail exhaust on this RS3 that actually twins with the one-of-one Camry that I used to have. Do you want to give it a start up?
Yeah, of course.
Yo.
That's wild. The difference. Okay, it might sound a little bit better than the Camry does. And of course, you know how well my M4 sounds with their exhaust. And they also are making a Supra exhaust. And I can't tell you what I'm necessarily doing with that. It might be coming in this Vlogmas series. So right now, Grail is actually giving away 3 systems, those specific 3 systems. So F80, RS3, and the Supra. And all you have to do to get entered is go ahead and go over to the collab post that I went and posted with Grail on Instagram. Comment down below which exhaust system you want and why you deserve it. And the most liked comments out of those 3 different platforms will win an exhaust system from Grail. Some of the highest quality stuff you'll ever have. Also, you will need to be following them to actually have your entry count. So, with that being said, boys, I think that's going to be the end of this trip and this Vlogmas series video. Day 3, which is crazy. We flew 5,000 miles to come to this thing. So thank you so much to Grail. And if you don't want to win the exhaust, still give them a follow because they make some amazing content here in Germany. I want to know though, do I go the Z06 and the G82, or do I go a 991 GT3 RS? I can't get all 3. It's either the 2 or the 1. I know you guys love Porsche. I love Porsche too, but they are just so expensive. And honestly, like as you can see with this car, it looks crazy stock. All you really can do is lower it, maybe put some wheels on it, straight pipe it like Grail did, and that's pretty much it. Whereas the Z06, there is so much you can do with it and so much more power you can get out of it. Same thing with the G82, and actually Grail has one right here, and this is just an idea of what you could make it look like. But with that being said, I think that's gonna be the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell. I can't show you what present we're gonna open in the next video, but I will tell you, it's for the Corvettes. I'll see you guys next time. Drive safe.
A Porsche is perfect, bro. But that's just because I'm just like, damn, it's a Porsche. Like, I always, like, you know. I don't know, bro. I'm trying to decide for real. He's like he'll do something with it though. I wouldn't. WVid, bro. WVid. I know I said something.
In this video, we'll be diving into a case that shook the city of Cleveland to its
Moment she realized
core. What makes this case extraordinary is the complex investigation that took place following the murder. But to fully understand exactly how this killer was caught, we have to start from the very beginning. On November 3rd, 2013, at exactly 8:35 p.m., the Cleveland Police Department received a chilling 911 call.
911, you need police fire.
The voice you have been listening to belongs to a 41-year-old woman by the name of Yuloma Curry Walker. Yuloma just discovered her husband clinging to life on the driveway of their Cleveland home.
Who shot your husband? My God. Please. Okay, the police are coming, ma'am.
She killed him.
Please help me. Please help me. Ma'am, police are coming and EMS is coming, okay? They're en route. Okay, stay right here. Don't move. Don't move, baby. Don't move. Please don't move.
First responders were dispatched, and within minutes, officers arrived at the Walker residence on Lamson Road. As they approached Yuloma on her driveway, authorities realized that they knew this couple. The victim was actually fellow first responder and lieutenant of the fire department, 45-year-old William Walker. Will was covered in blood. He was still breathing, but his condition was critical due to 3 gunshot wounds to the chest. As they were tending to Will, he mentioned something about a man in the backyard, but was unable to coherently complete his sentence. One of the officers quickly checked the backyard, but it was clear of any threats. Detective Thomas Lynch arrived to help with the investigation. He noticed something odd. Will's keys were found still in the side door. If this was a robbery, why did the assailant break into Will's home or vehicle using those keys? Aside from the 3 bullets that hit Will, there were several bullets that had struck the side of the house. They also found 4 9mm shell casings scattered around the crime scene. While the investigators collected the evidence, Will was loaded into the ambulance and transported to Metro Health's emergency center. Yuloma was riding shotgun. Once they arrived, the officers took note of Yuloma's appearance. Strangely, she had no blood on her. This lack of blood made it clear that Yuloma failed to provide any first aid assistance to her dying husband, despite being a nurse herself. The officers attempted to speak with her, but they were interrupted by bad news. Will's injuries proved to be fatal, and on November 3rd, 2013, at 11:42 p.m., just 3 hours after the 911 call was placed, Lieutenant William Walker was pronounced dead.
45-year-old William Walker is a 15-year veteran with the department. Walker was shot several times in the driveway of his Cleveland home last night.
Walker's neighbor tells us she heard 5 shots.
And here is what else we have learned. Sources connected to the investigation say Walker had a laceration wound in addition to multiple gunshot wounds in his chest. He died at Metro Health Medical Center. Walker's colleagues say he leaves behind a wife and 2 children.
Following Will's death, the police brought Yuloma into the station for further questioning.
So the reason we asked you to come down is because we never really got a chance to talk with you about, your Will's life together.
Yuloma and Will met back in 2005. They instantly felt a connection. They were both single parents, each having 2 children from previous marriages. And they both had similar social circles due to their professions, Yuloma as a nurse and Will as a firefighter. In early 2013, Yuloma was diagnosed with breast cancer. This pushed the couple to finally get married, partially so Yuloma would be covered under Will's insurance benefits.
William was just a great person. Unbelievable. I'm not going to say he was perfect, but he was my perfect. I just want to find out what happened.
I know this isn't easy, honey. How about, can we just go through what happened?
On the night of the shooting, the 2 were packing their belongings for their upcoming move to a new home in Madison, Ohio. Just before 8:30 p.m., Yuloma asked Will to get some dinner from a nearby McDonald's. Upon his return, Yuloma heard shots fired and Will screaming outside. After running outside and finding Will on the ground, she noticed a suspicious stranger while she was dialing 911.
It was one guy. I don't remember what he looked like. And I asked him, what did he want? I remember. That's the only person I remember.
Was he close to you? Did he approach you?
He came in the driveway.
Officers instantly had an idea of who this mysterious person may be. Will and Yuloma's neighbor was a 27-year-old man named Rex Coleman. Rex had an extensive criminal record and had multiple armed robberies under his belt. He also owned an auto dealership that Will was in the process of purchasing 2 vehicles from. However, after paying $10,000 for one of them, the vehicle never arrived. The detectives asked Yuloma if this conflict ever led to a confrontation between Rex and Will. She said no. However, there was a heated altercation between Will and some of Rex's acquaintances.
There was no physical altercation or anything, just yelling and screaming?
Yelling and screaming.
She couldn't remember what this altercation was about, but from that point on, Will always carried a gun whenever he left his home.
Something had happened and William had gotten his gun from underneath the bed. He took Pepe outside.
As a dog?
Following this interview, they hunted Rex down and brought him to the station for questioning. He denied any involvement in Will's shooting and provided an alibi, a pizza date with his girlfriend. Police were able to confirm this alibi, and nothing suspicious was found while looking through Rex's phone. Therefore, Rex Coleman was ruled out as a suspect. This lead didn't pan out, but it wasn't long before detectives had another name on their radar. After setting up an anonymous tip line, the police received multiple tips telling them to look into somebody named Chad. However, they provided
Motherfucking eyes, bro.
provided no last name, no address, nothing, just the name Chad. The investigators reached out to Uloma and asked her if she knew anybody by that name. She said that her daughter Jackie actually had a boyfriend named Chad, and that the two were at Chad's mom's house on the night of the shooting. When speaking with Jackie, the detectives found it odd that she also wouldn't provide Chad's last name, but they were easily able to track this information down. His name was Chad Paget. The detectives spoke to all three of them, Uloma, Jackie, and Chad, about Chad's relationship with Will. They all said essentially the same thing, that Chad and Will got along just fine. However, when asking Will's co-workers about this relationship with Chad, they all said the opposite, that Will thought Chad was a lazy punk that's not good enough for Jackie. These contradictory statements puzzled the detectives. Why were Uloma and Jackie vouching for Chad if he was clearly on Will's bad side? Everything so far was pointing to Chad being involved, but since he and Jackie corroborated each other's alibis, authorities let him go. Soon after interviewing Chad, results came back from the crime lab, and it turns out that there was a latent fingerprint on one of the shell casings. However, this fingerprint didn't match anything in the criminal database, and even if it belonged to Chad, there was no way to know since Chad refused to provide his DNA and fingerprints. Therefore, Chad was placed on the back burner while the investigation continued. In the days following Chad's interview, a vigil was held for Will.
Hundreds packed Lamson Avenue for a candlelight vigil for Cleveland firefighter Lieutenant William Walker.
Heavenly Father, we just ask that you...
Damn. All these fires that he fought to make lieutenant. Damn.
Watch over his family in this particular time of need.
He was a great firefighter, great paramedic. He represented us well. And I could tell you this, that I'm a better man for having known Will Walker.
I'm really emotional right now, but I just want to thank everyone for coming out to support my brother. He would gladly, and I know he's gladly appreciating this right now. Thank you. I love you, Will.
I put my life on the line for the fire department. I've never done the things that he's done for this community.
And somebody know what happened. And they're listening right now.
Oh.
So you will be caught.
Not long after, there was also a memorial held by Will's fellow firefighters to honor his memory before he was laid to rest.
Not a single person had a bad word to say about Lieutenant William Walker. Just about an hour ago, he was let out by a procession of firefighters with his casket as they came out of public auditorium. They took the casket into a fire truck where the lights and sirens were going, and they took him off.
He was a great family man, real silly. That's what I'm gonna miss about him. He used to make me laugh a lot. We had the same sense of humor.
Over the next year, the case slowly went stagnant. Several more leads were looked into, but each of them only led to a dead end. Uncertain of what move to make next, they brought Uloma back in for another interview as a last-ditch effort for new information.
Was there anything going on at the time? Was there anything that we should be, focusing on?
I just want to find out what happened.
Okay, well, that's what we're trying to do. Hey, was there anything going on with finances?
We didn't have a problem.
How's your health been? Your health all right?
I don't know, I've been to the doctor.
The detectives found it very strange that someone diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer hadn't gone into the doctor recently. After this interview, they looked into Yuloma's medical records. They determined that she hadn't been to a doctor in over a year. In fact, it turns out that there was zero history of her undergoing chemo or any cancer treatment at all. Authorities quickly realized that her late-stage breast cancer diagnosis was a complete lie. This led investigators to dig deeper into Yuloma's records, including her financial records, and it turns out that she had amassed a significant amount of debt using a plethora of credit cards. For a moment, the investigators thought that they were onto something big. Perhaps Yuloma had faked her diagnosis so that Will would marry her. And once married, she killed Will to collect his life insurance payout, thus solving her crippling financial situation. But they quickly learned that the beneficiary for Will's life insurance wasn't even Yuloma, but rather his ex-wife Rita. Yuloma didn't receive a dime. Did Yuloma think that she would receive that money? Otherwise, why would she kill Will if it wasn't for money? Was Yuloma really involved in Will's death after all? Investigators needed more information if they ever wanted to answer these questions. So in December of 2014, the Cuyahoga Police Department and the Cleveland Fire Department offered a $10,000 cash reward in exchange for any information about Will's murder that leads to an arrest.
We sincerely hope that someone will step forward and provide some information to solve these senseless crimes.
After notifying the public about the cash reward, a new tip came in from someone named Isaiah. Apparently, Isaiah had been approached by none other than Chad Padgett, who asked if he would carry out a hit in exchange for money. Isaiah denied this offer. With this new information, police now had probable cause for a search warrant of Chad's phone records. They noticed that around the time of the shooting, Chad was constantly communicating with Jackie and another unknown number. Police were able to trace this phone number back to a man named Ryan Doherty. Ryan Doherty was notorious in Lieutenant Walker's neighborhood for his colorful history of robberies and burglaries. In fact, at this point in the investigation, Ryan was serving a 17-year prison sentence for robbing a Family Dollar store and shooting a cashier in the stomach, less than 3 weeks after Will was killed. Officers wanted to build as strong of a case as possible before moving in on any suspects, so they obtained search warrants for Jackie, Ryan, and Yuloma's phone records as well. They then worked with the FBI to create a clear map showing the exact location of these cell phones throughout the night of the shooting and the exact times that they were communicating with each other. It revealed that right before the time of the shooting, Chad and Ryan had made their way from the west side of Cleveland, where Chad's mom's residence is, to the east side of Cleveland, directly toward the Walker residence. And at 8:30 p.m., Chad sent a text to a group chat that included him, Jackie, and Yuloma. The text read, "We got a body." The evidence was beginning to paint a very clear picture of how this crime was executed, so Chad was detained and brought down to the station for questioning. The first thing they do is confront Chad with the cell phone location data. His story immediately changed. Now he says that one of his friends, a person whose identity we will not be sharing, drove him to the Walker residence where Chad had stashed some marijuana. Ryan Doherty tagged along to buy some of this stash from Chad.
Where were you when you left? Were you at your house? Your mom's house? So you leave from over there in Denison. You get over to the east side. Tell me what happened.
After picking up the goods, Chad and Ryan went outside to make the exchange.
Went up on the porch, got my stuff. Showed Ryan what it was.
As they walked back to the car, Will pulled into his driveway, parking just out of Chad's view. When Ryan saw this, he suddenly started walking towards the driveway. He came back moments later as if nothing happened.
What did Ryan say when you made him?
He didn't say nothing. That's the thing. Ryan didn't say nothing at all. Nothing. It was just when I walked down the street, he told me, he's like, bro, like, I got you. You ain't gonna say nothing. I'm like, oh, truly did not know.
You didn't hear any gunshots?
No. And I know the sounds of gunshots.
Chad says that he only found out about Lieutenant Walker's murder later that night.
On the porch, I see Jackie sitting there crying and everything, and she told me, like, look, guess Will's dead. I'm like, what you mean? That's when 2 and 2 got in my head. Me too.
While telling this story, Chad didn't realize that the detectives knew about the "We Got a Body" text. They gave him one last chance to fess up.
This could be an opportunity for you to determine kind of like your fate from here on out.
I don't have nothing to do with this stuff. Okay.
Since Chad continued to be untruthful, the detectives decided that they had had enough.
Bag murder. Gonna be both. Right,
Didn't do nothing though, like, for real.
Okay.
I really did not do nothing.
Stand up. You probably didn't go quite how you anticipated, right?
Never even did nothing.
Following this interview, Chad Padgett was charged for the murder of Lieutenant William Walker. His DNA samples and fingerprints were finally collected. The fingerprints were then compared to the ones found on the shell case at the crime scene. It was a match, suggesting that Chad was the one who loaded the gun. After being thrown in jail for a few days, Chad's mother contacted the detectives, saying that Chad wanted to speak with them again. He was ready to tell the full truth.
Wherever you feel comfortable, sir.
I've been with that girl for 6 years. Non-stop. On and off. Right, we've been cool. I met her mom a bunch of times. She seemed pretty cool.
Apparently, Uloma, Chad, and Jackie were all in the car together when Uloma first mentioned the idea of killing Will.
One day, dropped off at work, picked her up. She asked me a question. She asked me, did I want to make like $10,000? I said, there. She asked me to, I don't know how to put it. How she asked me? She asked me to kill Will.
Uloma told them that Will had been physically abusing her, and that the only way out of this abusive relationship was to get rid of him.
The man used $10,000 to this. Money was running through my head.
Uloma told them that Will had a $100,000 life insurance policy, and that they would get paid once the job is done.
I said, I can't do it, but I might know somebody. She said, okay, that's cool.
Uloma then gave Chad a $1,000 deposit to search for a person to complete the job. Chad had initially presented the offer to his friend Isaiah, but after he rejected the proposal, he turned to his cousin, 22-year-old Christopher Hine, who was known to be an arms dealer on the streets. Chris then put Chad in contact with Ryan Doherty, who he enlisted to carry out the killing.
Okay, all right. What's up? Would you be able to do something for some money? He was like, what's up? I asked him, is he able to kill Will for some money? He said yes. You didn't get $10,000, did you? I probably want to say
It's always your cousin, man. It's
altogether
always your
about
cousin.
2,500.
And of that 2,500, how much did Ryan get?
500, and I still owe him 100. He was on my back about it.
Chad's interview was wrapped up, and Chris and Ryan were immediately tracked down and brought into the station by police. Chris was very forthcoming, telling the detectives the same story that Chad did, and then some. According to Chris, he was originally set to execute the plan in October of 2013, just a month before Will's death. He even went to Will's home on Lamson Road, but lost his nerve and couldn't fire the weapon. That's when he reached out to Ryan to carry out the hit, offering him a mere $800 and an assortment of paraphernalia. Ryan was much less cooperative during his interview. The detectives began questioning him, but without hesitation, he denied all of the allegations. The interview ended there, as Ryan would not provide any further information. Considering the "we got a body" text in the group chat, it seemed that Jackie was also closely involved in her stepfather's death. The detectives were now ready to speak with her again. Jackie initially claimed that she had no knowledge of the murder plot. However, detectives confronted her with all of the evidence, which prompted her to hop on the confession bandwagon. She opened up and confirmed what Chad and Chris had said, that Uloma claimed she was being abused and was the leader of the operation. Chad was the middleman, Chris was the arms dealer, and Ryan was the shooter. As for the driver, Chad, Chris, and Jackie all said that he was not told the real purpose of the trip, and truly believed that they were just going to fetch some marijuana. When Chad and Ryan re-entered the car, they told him to hurry up since they had just robbed someone. Furious, he ordered both men out of his car. They complied and their friend drove off. The two then took the train home, back to the west side of Cleveland to meet up with Jackie and Chris. Jackie also told the detectives that after everything was all said and done, Uloma never actually paid anybody the full amount that they were promised. Jackie was then also taken into custody, so there was only one person left, Uloma. However, there was one problem. Authorities were struggling to find Uloma. Any attempts to reach out to her
Shit
were
around
met
like
with no
shit.
response. In an attempt to hunt her down, police reached out to Uloma's inner circle, and apparently a close friend of hers had reason to believe that Uloma had fled the state. She said that several months after the shooting, Uloma had asked her to help store some of her family's belongings. The friend agreed and rented a storage unit for about $800. However, after storing the belongings, Uloma went on a road trip to North Carolina. She never reimbursed the friend and had not been seen since. Police later found out that one of the belongings Uloma left behind was actually Will's car. The most shocking part was that his remains were found in the back seat. After collaborating with North Carolina state law enforcement, in just 3 days, Uloma was located and transported back to Cleveland, Ohio. As soon as she arrived, she was re-interviewed by Cleveland police, and this time, there was no holding back.
Hey, Uloma. Remember Sandoval? It's been a while. Obviously, you're aware there's been some developments along the way.
You are a person that we consider involved in the murder of William Walker. It is considered an aggravated murder case because it was planned. At this time, do you care to make any statements about our investigation into the murder of William Walker?
Not without an attorney present.
Okay.
With Uloma being uncooperative, she was swiftly arrested. Her and her 4 co-conspirators were all charged with aggravated murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and 2 counts of felonious assault. During their arraignments, each person pled not guilty and was assigned a $1 million bond.
You wish to enter a not guilty plea. Not guilty plea is accepted. Bond is set $1 million.
However, leading up to Uloma's trial, her alleged accomplices
That's
would all
100K?
eventually turn against her. Chad, Chris, Ryan, and Jackie all agreed to testify against Uloma for a lesser sentence as part of a plea deal. Uloma's trial officially began in June of 2017. The prosecution's plan was to show that this murder was all about money. They suggested that although Ryan Doherty had ultimately pulled the trigger, Uloma's surmounting money problems is what led her to orchestrate Will's murder. Uloma's defense team would go on to deny the allegations against her. They suggested that Uloma was a victim of Will's domestic abuse and that Jackie, in an attempt to protect her mother, had actually cooked up the murder plan. They also argued that the 4 testimonies of those
Damn, your
involved in
daughter
the
is
murder
crazy.
lacked credibility, and that they were only pinning this crime on Uloma to lessen their own sentences. On July 7th, 2017, after a 10-day trial, the jury had come to a decision, and the verdict was presented to the court. Uloma Curry Walker was found guilty of aggravated murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and both counts of felonious assault. Her sentencing took place about a month later, on August 8th, 2017, and she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Chad Padgett's aggravated murder charge was dropped to involuntary manslaughter, and he was sentenced to 28 years in prison. On top of his 17-year sentence from his previous convictions, Ryan Doherty was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 23 years. Christopher Hines was sentenced to 18 years in prison. And since Jackie was still a minor at the time of the crime, she was sentenced in juvenile court and spent 1 month locked up at a juvenile detention center before being released.
Damn. Damn. I ain't gonna lie, this shit, I was like, what the daughter do though? What the fuck?
And Ryan was the shooter. As for the driver, Chad, Chris, and Jackie all said that he was...
Got you. I know if a nigga was not paying attention, they didn't get that shit, but I got it. I bet.
When 2 young men suspect a member of their own circle may be their friend's killer, they collaborate with law enforcement and go undercover to capture secret recordings.
Damn.
Why did he say that? Why did he say he just wanted to talk to me? What the? What the? Oh my God. Oh, what you got? Leave your hands out of the vehicle.
Beloved cheerleader Emma Walker was just a few months into her junior year at Central High School in Knoxville, Tennessee, when her life met a tragically abrupt end. Initially, it seemed it was some sort of terrible accident. There was no other way to explain it. However, investigators would soon untangle a twisted web of lies and uncover the horrific reality. Someone had wanted Emma dead. Growing up, Emma's ultimate dream was to become a neonatal ICU nurse someday. And the honors student was putting in the necessary effort to ensure she'd get there. She was making the most of high school, and her innate ability to excel in her endeavors was also exhibited in her role on the cheerleading squad. Her third year had just gotten underway, and she was loving it. Then, the morning of Monday, November 21st, arrived. Like she'd done so many times before, Jill went to her daughter's room to wake Emma for school around 6 o'clock. Right away, it was apparent that something was terribly wrong.
I just tried to wake up my daughter for school, and she has no pulse.
How old is she?
She's 16.
Oh, she poisoned?
You said that she's non-responsive?
Yeah, her tongue's hanging out of her mouth.
Stay on the line. I'm transferring you to rural Metro.
Word of the mysterious tragedy spread quickly. Among those hit particularly hard by the devastating news of Emma's death was her boyfriend of 2 years, Riley Gall. The two had first met in the fall of Emma's freshman year at Central High. She was the only freshman to secure a spot on the cheerleading squad. It was right around then that Emma caught the attention of junior and star wide receiver Riley Gall. It came as no surprise that the two were soon inseparable. A steady stream of posts with photos saturated their social media feeds, documenting the fun times they shared. There were collages such as the one that read, "Look how lucky I am," posted by Emma in May of 2016. By the time that fall of 2016 rolled around, Emma and Riley were 2 years into their relationship. Emma, now a junior, remained a dedicated member of the cheerleading squad at Central High. Though Riley had graduated that previous spring, he stayed close to his hometown and was attending Maryville College, where he quickly made a name for himself as a wide receiver on the football team. Then, just a few months into the new school year, young Emma was gone. As routine procedure goes, the Knox County Sheriff's Office immediately began speaking with those closest to Emma. Riley was brought in that evening on the outside chance that he might be able to aid in the investigation. Based on a tweet from earlier that day, he was very distraught, and understandably so. "That's my beautiful Emma. Rest easy now, sweetheart," it read. And it just so happens, word has gotten back to law enforcement that Riley has some particularly eerie information to share. Apparently, Emma had been receiving threatening text messages from an unknown source during the course of the previous weekend. The detectives start with brief introductions, then get a technical matter out of the way. The following footage has been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed attorney, a licensed clinical psychologist, a former licensed professional counselor, and a licensed professional counselor.
Before we get started, I understand you're not under arrest right now. You came down on your feet with your granddad and your mom. But because you're in a secure area, I have to read you your rights, okay? Because basically if you're in a position that you can't get up and leave and get out on your own, they technically look at that in court as being in custody. But understand you're not in custody. I've not put handcuffs on you. I've not told you you've been charged with anything or anything. It's just a formality.
After Riley has read his rights, they engage him in a bit of small talk and efforts to build rapport, establish a baseline, and make him feel comfortable.
While we're waiting on him, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know obviously you played football at Maryville College. I'm assuming you played football in high school?
Yes.
What position?
Wide receiver, cornerback, punt returner, kick returner, punter.
You must be pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, you kicked Hall's butt all over the place last year, so that's been your senior year, right? It's always painful to lose to you guys, but good luck. Hang in there and stay at it, work at it.
A few minutes later, the detectives dive into the true reason for the meeting. They ask Riley to provide a timeline of his whereabouts over the previous weekend.
Let's start with Friday. What, do you have classes during the day?
Wednesday, Friday, I have an 8 a.m. and a 9 a.m. And Tuesday, Thursday, I have a 6 a.m. and an 11 a.m. And then the other class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a 1 p.m.
Wow. You stay pretty busy, don't you? Let's start with Friday. You get out of class at 1 p.m. Mm-hmm. What happens from there?
Riley explains that he headed to his grandparents' home that evening, then went to his friend Noah's home shortly after, where he spent the night. Then, according to Riley, his seemingly normal morning took a chilling turn. And it all started with a message from Emma.
And she was kind of acting frantic over the phone. And she said that someone was trying to get into her house. Somebody was dressed in all black. They had a face mask on. She said that she saw them. She said she thought they were just taking a walk in the neighborhood. And then when she passed them to pull into her driveway, they put on a pair of glasses. And they started, she said they kind of sped up. So she went into the garage and shut the garage. And that's when I dropped all the stuff I was at my stepdad's house and drove all the way to her neighborhood.
Did you say she texted you that information?
She texted me she was asking if it was me at first. And I told her, no, what's going on? And that's when she FaceTime called me. She was crying and freaking out. So I said, okay, give me a minute. I'll come down there and check it out.
Riley raced to Emma's home, and approximately 10 minutes later, he arrived.
I went to her backyard, made sure, nobody was back there, checked under the porch and everything. Mm-hmm. Looked up and down the street.
But by that time, the would-be intruder was gone. Still, a residential surveillance camera captured a few seconds of footage as the man walked down the street. Riley returned to Noah's house somewhere around 8 p.m. and stayed the night once again.
Time do you leave and where do you go Sunday morning?
I don't know what time I woke up, but when I woke up, I went back to my grandparents and then went back over to Noah's house. And I got back to campus around 11:30, 11:45.
Naturally, the college freshman had left his homework until somewhere around midnight Monday morning.
I got back up to my dorm and I tried logging in onto my Miracle College email, but I realized I couldn't because I was logged in on my grandparents' my grandmother's laptop back in Knoxville, and it was late, almost 12:30, 12:15 or 12:30 around there. So I didn't think they were awake, so I drove back to Knoxville because I needed to do my homework.
My motherfucking stomach hurt, bro. I ain't gonna lie, I'm probably gonna get up and pop some popcorn in a minute too.
Work. And I logged myself out of the laptop at my grandparents' house. My grandfather was awake though. He saw me log out of the laptop, and from there I left.
It's intriguing that Riley felt the need to emphasize how his grandfather saw him log out of the laptop, almost as if he's expecting that the detectives will think he's lying about why he went home.
He saw me log out of the laptop.
When someone who's being questioned acts defensive before they have even been accused of something, it
I
can
ain't
be
even
seen
gonna
by
lie.
law enforcement
I don't
as a
even like
possible
being
sign of deception.
interrogated, so
I ended up
already
not doing any of my homework. Instead, I got back to campus around 1 a.m. and just sat in my car for about 2.5 hours, and just slept. 4:30, I fell asleep. Fell asleep around then, and that's when I woke up to people calling me about what had happened. Well, first he had texted me, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry about what happened." So I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he called me after that, and he said, "Did you not hear what happened?" I said, "No, what are you talking about?" And he said, "They found Emma dead in her bed this morning, or unresponsive is what he told me." And that's when I started freaking out, having a breakdown. So my parents or my mom and my grandmother were coming out to campus to get me. They probably got there around 9-ish, 9:30, somewhere around there.
As soon as he starts talking about being told about Emma's death, Riley starts stroking his face. This is a self-soothing behavior indicative of heightened anxiety. This could be because the topic is distressing for him, which would be understandable, or a hint that maybe something else about the topic makes him nervous. Although some dismiss nonverbal analysis as pseudoscience, and whether or not the viewer agrees with it, it is used by the FBI, CIA, and police during interrogations, which is why we include it. When the CIA is interrogating an individual, they look for clusters of 3 or more indicators that occur in either quick succession or all at once. These indicators can be signs of discomfort or uncertainty in what the individual is stating, rather than indicators of deception. It's extremely important to note that you cannot detect deception through nonverbal analysis alone.
Okay. So then once your grandparents got you and you went back to their house?
My mom and my grandmother did.
Yeah. Is that, they came and got you and that's where you went? Back to grandparents?
I spent all day at my grandparents' house today.
Until?
Now.
Gotcha.
After a comprehensive run-through of Riley's previous weekend, the detectives transition to the sensitive subject of his longtime girlfriend's unexpected death. Perhaps Riley can provide something for law enforcement to go on. A detail that may seem insignificant to him may be the very information needed to crack the case.
Tell me what you know about Emma's passing. I know there's been all kinds of rumors and speculation. What have you heard?
I've tried to tune all of it out because I've heard so many different things. I've heard she just passed in her sleep. I heard she tried to commit. I heard a stray bullet came to the wall, but that made no sense to me because it's her room. If a stray bullet hit the wall, it would have to be from the backyard because that's where her window is. No, I don't know. That one didn't make sense to me, but those are the main 3.
Who have you talked to?
Is that an actual straight bullet though? Like, it's crazy.
Passing in her sleep and all that stuff.
I've had a bunch of my friends visit me today at my grandparents' house, and they would just tell me different stuff they've heard from different people.
Okay.
Riley has been fidgeting and spinning his seat throughout the interview so far. But as soon as the detectives start asking about Emma's death and the rumors surrounding it, he also begins picking at his fingers, which is typically an anxiety response.
Okay.
Which is normal when you being questioned about your dead girlfriend, though.
Yeah, it was actually about an hour ago when he showed up. His name's Jacob.
How do you know Jacob?
We've been friends since 2nd grade.
Did he say where he heard the stray bullet theory?
No, he said it was the same thing, like hearsay. He said he probably said that didn't sound right to him either, but...
Horrifyingly so, it seems that the detectives are beginning to consider that the killer could be hiding in plain sight, disguised as a grieving friend. Perhaps they even paid Riley a visit in an attempt to avoid suspicion, simply playing the part of another young mourner expressing condolences to the longtime boyfriend of the deceased. Detectives have collected potential leads in Riley's visitors from earlier that day, and with this, the entire trajectory of the investigation has drastically changed.
Can you think of anyone that would want to hurt Emma?
Not off the top of my head, no. Because, I mean,
she had any enemies?
No. She had no enemies that would want to hurt her. I mean, she had high school drama enemies, but, like, just girls she didn't like, but none that would do that.
She kind of got along with everybody. I mean, I don't know.
She was very likable. She was friends with most anybody that she talked to.
The last time you talked to her, you said was Sunday? Sunday night. Did she make any comments about anybody being mad at her or upset at her or anybody wanting to hurt her?
No.
I know it's like, I'm killing these hoes, but I always eat.
The person was at her house Saturday morning. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard that she had passed this morning.
Then, a completely unexpected revelation is brought to light, and it changes everything.
You got people that are mad at you, that are trying to hurt you or anything?
Not that I know of, I don't know. You didn't, nobody tried to kidnap you or kidnap me? Yeah.
Repeating the question can be a red flag to detectives. It could mean that the person being interviewed needs time to think about their response. A deceptive individual likely wants to prevent awkward silences after a question, as that could seem suspicious. However, if they need a moment to consider what they should say, they might repeat the question to fill that conversation gap.
What's it about? I didn't want to. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to talk about it because it was traumatizing. I didn't know what to make of it. And that's pretty important for us to probably know. I mean, somebody trying to kidnap you. But I don't know, like, I don't know anything about it.
Notice the weak movement Riley makes here. It's a half-hearted shrug and his hands barely raise. Throughout, his illustrators have been minimal. We don't have anything of him before the interview to really compare to, but it's an atypical behavior for people in general to have such weak nonverbals. Illustrators help people make points while they speak. In contrast, restrained gesturing is believed to be a telltale sign of deception.
When did this alleged kidnapping take place?
They were looking too deep in the shit.
Friday.
Not everybody talking with their hands.
This past Friday? When did that happen?
Sometime night. I just don't know. I don't remember much about it. I just remember two guys. Literally, I was Friday night before I got to Noah's. Went up to my stepdad's house, and I pulled in the driveway, and this van pulled over across in the semicircle, and these two guys were like walking across the street. I didn't think anything of it because they weren't like in a rush. Mm-hmm. And I turned around, I'm about to get in my car, and next thing I know, one of them grabs my back, and the other one's around the corner, and they just like put their hands over my face and just took me to their van or whatever.
Finally, we see Riley use larger nonverbal indicators. His palms are up, in a position usually indicating that he's asking to be believed or trying to be convincing. But they don't fit with his words. His hands just sit there for quite a long time, with no words to go along with it.
And then what happened?
I don't remember much. They just had me, I couldn't see anything. They had something over my eyes. I haven't told my mom or anybody about this.
Oh, really?
No.
Why not?
Terrified.
So, I mean, you ain't got any money?
No.
You gambling debts? Do you gamble?
No.
So these guys just randomly picked you out for no reason?
I guess.
Riley's account sounds a bit questionable, especially because he doesn't give a clear reason as to why he can't remember much of it. He's also left out any mention of his feelings during the event, and only mentions being terrified to justify why he hasn't told his mom about it. Most people who were telling the truth about something major, such as being kidnapped, will express what their emotions were at the time. This is because their emotions are tied to the memory of the traumatic event. When someone leaves these details out, it can be a red flag for possible deception. But the question is, what could he be leaving out? That same night, Emma had attended a gathering at a friend's home after the football game. It was somewhere around 11:30 p.m. when she began receiving alarming text messages from an unfamiliar phone number.
They did ask me, they were like, who would you want to talk to for the last time? And so I started freaking out, and I said, Emma.
Text messages instructed Emma to go outside. They stated that they had her loved one in their possession, and if she didn't comply with their demands, he'd be hurt.
And they made me call Emma. She wouldn't answer my phone multiple times, so they used their phone. And I was just crying and screaming. She thought it was a joke. She thought I was playing a prank on her.
Right.
Cause this shit sound dumb as hell. Why are we trying to kidnap you? Who is this nigga to be kidnapped? If he ain't beefing with nobody, who are you?
Riley has been fidgeting with his hands and moving in his seat this entire time. This indicates that he's been letting off his excess energy, which is going to be a red flag to the officers that he may be hiding something. The fact that Emma thought Riley was playing a joke on her could suggest that he had done something in the past to make her doubt his sincerity. A friend accompanied
he just
Emma
tried to go
outside,
over and over,
and that
like,
was when they
over the top,
located
over the top,
Riley
over the top.
lying face down in a nearby ditch. According to her friend, Riley appeared to be disoriented.
I woke up where Emma was.
Where was that?
In her friend's yard. It's right off Castle Pike. I literally remember then my head ached for the rest of the night when I got back. And it was after that.
Did you tell no one knew about it?
Yeah. They thought it was messing with them. That's why I haven't talked to anyone about it, because no one would take me seriously.
It's interesting that Riley still hasn't asked exactly what happened to Emma. Most people would ask at some point, while maybe not early on since they don't want to interrupt investigators. They wouldn't want to sit through the entire interview without asking for some kind of information about what happened. This is likely a red flag to detectives. After acquiring the information they need for the time being, the detectives conclude their interview with Riley.
I do want to thank you for coming in and talking to us, Riley. I do appreciate that.
It's clear that investigators know Emma didn't take her own life, but instead believe something far more sinister occurred. Though the information hasn't yet been made public, they're aware that Emma died as a result of a single gunshot. The bullet having traveled through the exterior of her house before striking Emma in the head. Somewhere around this time, law enforcement is approached by friends of Emma who strongly...
I'm so confused as to how the fuck did they get her ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, straight bullet? But she was shot through the house? Nigga had to know exactly where she was sleeping. On me.
Suspect they know the identity of the killer.
Or a friend.
They want to assist in the investigation. In fact, they believe they can get their hands
from the people that we know
on the very weapon that might have been used to murder Emma earlier that same morning, if the rumors that she died of a gunshot wound are accurate. You see, the person they suspect is also a close friend of theirs. In addition, one of the teens has recently witnessed something quite coincidental. The suspect had recently acquired a firearm. In fact, he'd gone so far as to show it to one of them. With the friends having come forward, the idea that the killer is among them has gained even more credibility, disturbing as it is. Despite the potential dangers of which they're warned, the amateur detectives opt to go through with the sting operation on November 22nd, just one day after Emma had died. A plan is constructed, and the friends are wired and equipped with a hidden camera.
I'll do that. Dude, all of you. There's nobody else I'd rather be going into this shit with. Nobody else I could go into this shit with. Oh shit, man. This is insane. Just go do your thing, guys. Yeah. All right. Hey, everyday life, man. Everyday life. Go do your thing. Let's go play some Modern Warfare. There you go. This is just another day, man. Yeah, look at that fog. Is that light still on? I'm gonna shut it. Yeah. Yep. Okay, guys, do your thing. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
And with the short briefing from detectives, the precarious mission headed by a brave couple of teens is underway. The friends return to one of their homes and prepare for the suspect to arrive.
So, dude. Okay, that's a bit. Me and we're back in the crib. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, yeah, I'll walk out there. All right, I'll see you. Why did he say that? Why did he say he just wanted to talk to me? No. Holy why does he really talk to him a lot? I don't know, man. I don't know. All I can think about is that he would trust you more than me. Which, I mean, yeah, because I was been bullshitting him harder. Mm-hmm. All right, FYI, guys, my roommate is not home. He's going to be at work till about like 1 or 2 a.m. tonight.
One of the friends updates law enforcement who's listening in. The suspect is due to arrive in just a few minutes. The hidden camera is strategically placed just before the suspect enters with his friend. and both take a seat on the couch. Apparently, the two had a short conversation outside, and the suspect would like for his friends to accompany him on an errand of sorts. But before they get to that, they speculate on Emma's potential manner of death. We know that very little information has been made public, and they only have rumors to go on. Well, 2 of them at least. We suspect that the third knows everything.
They would have automatically ruled out any kind of suicide, or I mean, not ruled it out, but like, if she would have got shot through the wall, you don't just get shot and die instantly unless you get hit in the throat or in the head. Yeah. Unless you got shot directly in the heart, but still, even that, like, you're gonna feel that, wake up, and be able to try and like crawl out of your bed. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, I still don't understand how she died.
It's likely that no part of this discussion is medically accurate, but the undercover friends play along in an attempt to get more information from the suspect, and the speculation continues.
I don't either, but if she like truly got shot through the wall, then she would, like, say it hits her in the stomach. Say somebody shot her on the wall, hit her in the stomach. She's going to wake up. You don't just get shot and lay there. Yeah, I don't see how she wouldn't scream or something, like anything. And she just laid, unless it was just like a ridiculous shot. If it hit her in the head, then they would have saw that. Well, yeah, but you don't know. See that, though. They could have walked in and seen her just. Well, but they would have seen it was a murder investigation from early that morning.
As far as I know, like they never. They always don't know anything about how she was found or when she was found.
Because
whenever you hear, exactly. Whatever
they always knew,
whatever you hear it from, could not be true.
They knew it was a homicide from the first second because they put in protective custody. You serious? Yeah.
The suspect is clearly alarmed by this information. The thought of a friend having been murdered would be quite devastating to hear. However, it's much more probable that the shock is from knowing that if her death was in fact a homicide, then law enforcement's main focus will be to locate the killer. Which brings us to our next important topic of conversation.
But I'm trusting you guys, like, with my life, because I mean, this is 70 years in jail if I get convicted of something I didn't do. And are you busy right now? Are you about to do anything? Well, can we go to the bluffs? Because I need to get rid of the bluff. I'm gonna throw it into the water. They'll never find me.
I'll try to get the water with like rocks.
Well, we did it with beer logs. So we can go on the smaller ledge that really looks out of the water.
I mean, I got your back, man.
I just
Jesus Christ, dude, I got your back.
If it's in the Tennessee River, they will never find it. So that's why I just want to eliminate that from the equation as a whole.
Cover your bases. Cover your bases. I mean, I feel you. That's your decision.
Well, do you guys want to go right now?
I'm fine. Let me grab a snack. Start. You want a hot pocket?
I'm starving.
I'm so hungry.
I would love a hot pocket.
After preparing a couple of Hot Pockets, the teens depart en route to an area that overlooks the Tennessee River, not far from the University of Tennessee campus, known as the Bluffs. It's possible that the suspect isn't just looking for moral support here. By involving his friends in the disposal of the gun, he's likely trying to protect himself. If he gets them to help, they'll be more likely to follow his plan of lying to the police about what they know of the gun, and he'll be able to hold their involvement over them. They won't want legal consequences for their part in getting rid of potential evidence, so they'll feel more motivated to lie for the suspect.
He's home. Turn left on the side of the street. So I just can jump the fence, my car, and snatch it. Is that you? Well, go around to the church. Oh, okay. All right, I'll be back. If you're not back in 2 minutes, we'll come after you.
Less than 4 nerve-wracking minutes later, the suspect returns to the vehicle.
I just want to throw it and be done. Oh my God, I can feel it. Like, I just don't have attention. I think there's gloves up here too, so I can put those on. Well, I'm saying, like, the glove, I think there's gloves. I think we can use them. And I'll just put the gloves on and take it out. I'll fucking go. I'll carry it up, gloves on. We'll get to the top. We'll throw in the bullets individually. We'll throw in the clip. We'll throw in the gun.
Judging by the fact that the suspect keeps repeating how he wants to get rid of the gun, it seems that he's assuming that getting rid of the gun will mean that police will not have any evidence that points to him. They make one more detour and stop for some gas and fast food. The suspect, seated in the front passenger seat, hasn't allowed Emma's death to affect his appetite. About 15 minutes later, they arrive at the Bluffs, and the horrifying moment of truth has almost arrived.
Dude, let me see this thing. I don't know if you should touch it. Unless you have those on our stuff. I mean, they don't have my fingerprints in any database.
He's cooked. He's fucking cooked. I'm gonna wash my hands. Yeah, he did it. He's cooked. I wonder what the motive is, though. What's the motive? It's really something serious.
Oh my god. What? This is a real gun.
The utter magnitude of the reality has to be overwhelming as they lay their eyes on the very weapon that they believed was used to end Emma's life. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the teens are rudely awakened to find that they're not alone.
What the? What the? Oh my god, man. What the? What the? Everybody put your hands out of the vehicle now! Oh, damn it, dude. Yep. Pull what you got! Leave your hands out of the vehicle!
I ain't gonna lie,
Amid
my
the
heart.
chaos and just
My heart. Even whenever them niggas just pull up behind me type shit just to run my shit, bruh. My heart be dropping to my ass. Straight to my ass, bruh. Oh my god. And it's just like a straight roller coaster, just a
seconds,
Superman drop.
the suspect will be ordered to exit the vehicle, and all those present are aware that he's in the possession of the suspected murder weapon. If the suspect feels like he has nothing left to lose and senses that his friends betrayed him, he may choose to take revenge.
Oh, dude. Front passenger, can you hear me? Yes. My hand, open the door from the outside.
Front passenger.
Open the door all the way.
Front passenger.
Exit the vehicle. Keep your hands up. Hands up.
Thankfully, he's apprehended without incident.
Rear passenger, do not move. Do you understand me? Yes. Do you understand? Yes. Do not move your hands. Get up. Out.
Yeah.
You got gloves? More gloves. Right there. Right there. Move the bag back toward the seat. Yep. Okay. Hey, Merritt. Yep. Just pull that bag enough and let's just to see the serial number. Just to see the serial number. If you want to look at this, if you want me to start and see her blood for a hold and see if we can take care of Noah on his, I'll call. Goddamn right, boys.
And with that, the serial number was confirmed to belong to a gun that has, very recently, landed itself on law enforcement's radar. It had been kept under the driver's seat of the owner's vehicle until, on November 18th, when he realized it was missing. And here's where it all begins to come crashing down. On November 20th, James Walker reported his Glock 9mm pistol stolen. Though James and Emma's family share a surname, they are of no relation. James, however, is related to someone else who's very close to the case. His grandson happens to be none other than the grieving boyfriend, Riley Gall. That's right. The suspect was actually Riley all along. In addition to the firearm, other damning evidence was recovered, including the gloves we heard mention of and black clothing that would later confirm that Riley was likely the suspicious man dressed in black.
Chill out, fool.
As it turns out, there's much more to this
And he
convoluted
showed
story
up.
than initially meets the eye. Let's take a closer look into the events that transpired over those 2 years. What you're about to see will paint a picture of a tumultuous roller coaster of a relationship, remarkably different than what you've seen so far.
Yeah, you should
It all
get her
started
attention.
when that freshman cheerleader caught the eye of that star wide receiver.
We dated on and off for
Because
about
he
2
seemed
years.
like he a
Until
lame
about
because he stayed.
2 weeks ago is when she really cut it off. I had cut it off in the past before. She'd cut it off before. It just kind of went back and forth. It would be months at a time, and then we'd have a small fallout, and then we'd get back together.
It wasn't far into the relationship before Emma's friends and family began to see concerning signs. Emma's friends observed Riley exhibit behavior that they could only describe as controlling, possessive, and clingy. Riley wanted Emma to himself, and according to Emma's mom, Jill, Riley even attempted to control what Emma wore. This sort of jealousy and possessiveness is typical of abusive relationships. The perpetrator essentially treats the victim like a possession rather than a human being. It is common for perpetrators of abusive relationships to have antisocial personality disorder. Individuals with this personality disorder often have a need to dominate others and use others to fulfill their own emotional needs. Along with this, Riley quickly became obsessed with Emma and their relationship. Their relationship seems to have followed the 3 stages of obsession. The first is the absorbed stage. The initial attachment is extreme, and everything becomes serious very early on. The obsessive partner places the other partner in a specific role, which is consistent with Riley's attempt to dictate what Emma wore. Next comes the agitated stage. As the relationship progresses, the obsessive partner increasingly attempts to control the other. They text, call, or email numerous times a day. They're jealous of anyone or anything that takes time away from the relationship and attempt to isolate their partner from friends and family. The third and final stage is the aggressive stage, which typically starts when either previously successful attempts at controlling the partner have failed, or the partner has ended the relationship. At this point, the obsessive partner ups the ante. They may suddenly show up to places uninvited. They may alternate between pleas to reunite and vows of vengeance. For some desperate or disturbed individuals, the behavior can escalate to stalking, threats, or physical violence.
Chill out, fool.
As it turns out, in the midst of those breakups Riley referenced, he'd send Emma the most vile of messages through social media. Among them, "I hate you, I hate everything about you," and "You're the biggest I've ever come in contact with." The messages eventually escalated to a whole new, menacing level, with one in particular reading, "You're dead to me. I'll check the obituary. F you." When Emma's parents caught wind of this, Riley was understandably no longer allowed in their home. They confiscated Emma's cell phone in an attempt to end communication between her and Riley, but the attempt failed. They advised Emma to break up with Riley, and her friends did the same. However, Emma wasn't ready to cut ties, and she was one to make her own decisions. It can be incredibly difficult for someone to leave an abusive relationship. Those on the outside often question why someone would stay, but abusers are not abusive all the time, and often have a seemingly loving side to them. By turning the charm on, abusers are able to manipulate their partner into staying, or giving the abuser another chance. However, the cycle of abuse will likely continue, and the level of abuse can escalate over time. And of course, Riley's behavior became increasingly alarming. He began stalking Emma, He'd wait for hours on end outside the supermarket where she worked and continued attempting to speak with her,
I can't
even
see,
after
bro.
Emma's parents had forbidden contact between the two.
Hold on.
Finally, somewhere around early November of 2016, Emma ended things with Riley. In fact, she informed a close friend that they were done for good, and for a matter of about 2 weeks, friends and family had their Emma back. It's important to note that when someone leaves an abusive relationship, this is considered to be the most dangerous time. Once the abuser realizes that none of their usual tactics are working to get their partner back, their violent behavior may escalate because they feel so out of control. Shortly after Emma ended the relationship, Riley allegedly attempted to take his own life. Campus friends took him to the local hospital for treatment, effectively saving his life.
What a loser.
Maybe it was then that he made the ultimate decision. If he couldn't have Emma, he'd see to it that no one would. Then, a crime of convenience presented itself. Back in Riley's previous interrogation, the questioning turned to the missing firearm. Investigators are starting to look at the means and access to the aspects of the crime, which is, in a sense, Riley's ability to commit the crime.
Now, I understand that your grandfather has had a gun stolen or missing or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
I didn't realize it
It
was
was
the
during
same
the week
grandfather.
last week because he came and switched out my car with his car to go get the oil changed back in Knoxville. So he left his car on campus, but he took his keys with him. And he said when he got back, we switched out cars again, and he took off and he called me maybe 10 minutes later, or 5 or 10 minutes later, and said, "You know where my gun's at?" I said, "No, I haven't been in your car."
Do you remember what time last week that was?
It might have been Friday then. It was Thursday or Friday he came to do that. But he left his car on campus, but he took his keys with him.
Okay.
So I didn't even go to the car because it only took an hour. He brought my car back, we switched out again, and that's when he got on the road and called me about 5 or 10 minutes later and asked if I had messed with his gun.
All right. So did you have a way to use his car? I mean, did he give you a set of keys or anything?
No, he took the keys with him.
Well, I mean, I didn't know if you had an extra set or, I mean, like, I've got keys to my brother's vehicle.
He's got an extra to my car that he used. I kept my keys on me because I need a key to my door.
Gotcha.
The detective has a few important questions.
But have you ever taken your grandfather's gun?
No.
Okay. Did anybody take it to show a buddy or anything, bring it back or nothing like that? Do you have any idea where your grandfather's clock is now?
No.
Riley maintains constant eye contact here. While many mistakenly believe that eye contact indicates honesty, the opposite is true. Sustained eye contact typically indicates dishonesty, as the individual is carefully watching to see if their story is being believed.
I understand he told you about the gun. I had that gun because I was scared about what happened. I know you don't believe me. You probably don't either. Whatever. I'm telling you.
I mean, I don't believe that, but I believe you more that you didn't shoot Emma because that's a big step.
Though we can't be sure which scary occurrence Riley was referring to, we know that the gun went missing before the weekend, and all the events that came with it even arrived. This simply cannot be explained away. Apparently, before Riley actually put the stolen gun to use, he made a couple of last-ditch efforts to reel Emma back in. There was the staged kidnapping. But Emma was wise to his scheming ways and told him to leave her alone. Riley retreated to his friend Noah's home, where he stayed the night. And you probably recall that Noah didn't even buy Riley's story of having been abducted.
I mean, I don't believe that, but I believe you more that you didn't shoot Emma because that's a big step.
Did you tell Noah anything about it?
Yeah. They thought I was messing with him.
This could be an indication that Riley's friends know that he tends to lie or make up stories. Lying is another key trait of individuals with antisocial personality disorder. These individuals lie in order to manipulate others and get their needs met. Since people with antisocial personality disorder lack empathy, they're often indifferent to the fact that their lies and manipulation can harm others. After the staged kidnapping failed to win Emma back, Riley conjured up a new plan and put it into action the following morning, Saturday, November 19th. The infamous masked man, dressed in all black. Emma was so terrified she'd later tell her friends she thought she was going to die.
So you went to the backyard, check to see if you saw anything? Yeah. How do you get in the backyard?
A good question here, seeing as how detectives know that a shot was fired into the house from the backyard.
There's a, off to the right side of her house, there's a gate that has no lock. You can just open up the latches and move it.
Detectives are effectively establishing Riley's familiarity with Emma's house and yard layout, which supports the establishment of ability, knowledge, and opportunity to commit the crime. Riley's knowledge of where to shoot in order to strike or frighten Emma is an important piece of evidence related to his ability to carry out the crime. Of course, by the time Riley arrived, the masked man was conveniently nowhere to be found. Around that very time, Emma's mother returned home.
Her mom pulled up. Mom saw me there. And her parents aren't fond of me, so she just saw me and told me to leave. And I was coming up to the car. I was like, I'm not here to harass her. I was just here because she called for help.
Here are some more authentic displays of Riley's nonverbals. We can be fairly certain this happened just as he said it, and his gestures are less restrained and more spontaneous. As well, they easily match up with what he's saying.
Her parents didn't care for me at all.
What is that?
Because of the first time we broke up, I had cheated on her. And her parents never forgave me for that, even when she did. And they never
you
let
killed
us,
her? You cheated on her, then you killed her, bro?
For the remainder of the time we were together. After that, that's when I went back over to Noah's house.
Do you have your phone with you?
I do not.
Oh, man. I'd like to see that text message from him, just so I don't get it.
I don't. After today, I deleted everything.
Okay.
Because I don't want any... I just don't want to think about it.
But clearly, there was a motive behind the act. It wasn't just a case of attempting to spare himself the painful memories of the love he'd once had and lost. The inspiration behind it was something much more calculated. He wanted to hide the contents of his conversations with Emma and didn't want to leave behind any information related to his whereabouts on the night she was killed. Or maybe the text messages never even happened, and Riley is claiming to have deleted them to explain the absence of messages. It would later be found that another one of Emma's friends had witnessed Riley roaming the neighborhood that morning, dressed in all black. After these most recent failed attempts to lure Emma back into his clutches, Riley had come to a crossroads. Emma had drawn the line in the sand. She was done, once and for all. Riley, it seems, was faced with two choices. For one, he could choose to move on with his own life, just as Emma planned to do. Then, there was the other option. Just 2 days later, his decision would be reflected in an utterly horrendous act. You probably recall Riley's story of how Sunday night played out. Well, there was more to it than he'd originally led the detectives to believe. In fact, he'd failed to include the most crucial details about Monday's earliest hours.
But you said Sunday night that you left Noah's around 11.
Yeah.
You went back to campus. You said you got there around 11:45.
Called Emma from Mac's phone.
From Mac's phone.
Riley had borrowed a phone from his friend Max Siegel, also a football player at Maryville College, because Emma had either blocked his number or refused to answer his calls.
Boy,
coincidentally,
don't know how to
Mac
use,
was one of the friends who took
text now.
Riley to the hospital for treatment a week or two earlier, after his attempt to take his own life. Oftentimes, people who are highly manipulative and controlling in relationships will make, or fake, an attempt to take their life as a means of trying to manipulate and control their partner. This is truly the ultimate form of emotional manipulation. This was the point where Riley realized he'd have to log out of his grandmother's computer in order to access his college email, or so he said. Then Riley's story took a peculiar detour. A poor attempt to explain away an account of a very suspicious alleged conversation that had made its way back to detectives.
You get back to the dorm, you said around 12:15.
Yeah, my dorm.
Walker's there.
Yes.
So how do you have a conversation when you come in at 12:15 about how to get fingerprints on?
No, it wasn't a conversation with him. I walked in there and I was about to get on my laptop, so I was in there for maybe 5 minutes and then realized that I had to go back to log myself out of my Maryville College email address. And he was like, hey, I have this rifle or whatever. He was like, do you know how to get smudges and stuff off like the barrel, the handle, the butt, all that? And I was like, what do you mean smudges? And he was like your fingerprints, like the oil and dirt and all that. And I was like, I don't know.
Riley has made a poor attempt to establish an alternate set of facts in order to cover up the conversation about removing fingerprints on a firearm. However, detectives likely believe they have established Riley's knowledge of guilt, despite the fact that Riley was in a state of despair after the phone call with Emma hadn't gone well. He took the time to research the question further.
And when I called Noah upset about that, I told Noah on the phone, I said, when I asked him that question, he was like, it's a really sketchy question to ask. And I was like, I know, but you're the first person on the phone, so I figured I would just ask you.
Detectives had to have detected deception in that far-fetched tale. Of course, they
Really
let
ill
that one
man,
go
too.
for the time
Something
being
on the bus.
and continued with Riley's account of that fateful Monday morning.
And then you went back to your grandparents?
Yes, to log out of their laptop.
He hides his hands in his pocket here, a gesture intended to give someone a sense of comfort and safety in a situation that is clearly becoming increasingly more stressful.
Got back to campus around 1 and you said you sat in the car and wept for 2 or 3 hours?
Yeah, just cried.
And why was that?
I just kept, because I knew she wasn't going to come back, and I've always gotten her to come back in the past, and I was just, she blocked me on everything, so I couldn't send her anything. The only thing I could send her messages on was Twitter, and that's when I told you I sent that message around 1. I just told her how much I loved her, and that I was sorry that she didn't want what we had anymore, and that I hoped that she was going to do great things in the future.
It appears that Riley is picking at his nails here, which is a grooming gesture. Grooming behaviors alone are not a definite sign of deception, but they do indicate that the person may be feeling uncomfortable and is trying to release some anxiety, possibly because they're lying. Despite Riley saying how much he loved Emma, there's no emotion in his voice to support this, and he hasn't expressed any interest in finding out what happened to her.
And I told her I was going to leave her alone after that.
But there was one more thing he had to do before he'd leave her alone.
Knock her off.
Saw you in your car?
Not that I know of. I was looking at my phone all the time, looking at pictures of us.
For 3 hours?
I mean, 2.5 maybe. I mean, I just sat there and cried. I've done that before.
This window of time supposedly spent in his car is a convenient explanation of his whereabouts for those 3 hours, which we know was precisely the time that Emma was killed in her room.
Crying in the
Also
car.
convenient is the fact that no one saw him because
So
he
we
was
running
alone
with-
in his car. So a roommate, for instance, can't be questioned later and asked when Riley returned to the dorm that night. Riley, the master manipulator, is using his go-to tactic, his supposed emotional distress. The detective then deferred to his partner and asked if he had any questions. However, Riley was wise to the tactic.
They were playing the good cop, bad cop, bro. Like, they legit, like, I didn't know cops actually did that shit, and they do. Because the one that was being decent was asking me all the questions, and then when he was done, he'd be like, do you have any questions? And then the guy would just be like, yeah, I was just wondering why you're a little foggy on who you're with, and you seem like you're kind of lying to it. And I was like, I'm not lying.
Yet it didn't quite unfold like Riley had described.
You worked at Ingles, did you not?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had any disturbance or anything with her at Ingles?
Disturbances.
Have y'all ever gotten a fight in the parking lot or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't remember what day, but it was a week, maybe a week and a half ago. I met her when she was going into work because she had done the same thing she'd been doing. She'd been blocking me, telling me that she was done, and I went there and I told her I was trying to just get her to reason with me.
Then the bad cop has a few more pertinent questions for Riley.
And every time I talk to somebody, the gun has come up, the Ingles, in the Ingles parking lot. You turn there with a gun, they're saying that I may have a gun, I don't want nobody else to have you or anything like that?
Not in the Eagles parking lot.
Not there, but have you done that before then?
No, I've never done that.
Why does people say that you may have
You
a
need to
gun?
just focus on self,
I
man.
don't know.
I mean, they're your friends.
Look around
I
and
mean, they're
knock
your,
her off.
they're your boys. They're your peeps. Why would they
Yeah, they
keep
like
telling me
19
that you have a
Just
gun?
graduated.
I mean, help me
Like,
understand
literally,
that. So
fall
there's nothing. Does
college.
Alex, Isaac, and Noah is your three? Is that your three best friends?
3 of them, yes.
I mean, y'all pretty. I mean, so you spent the weekend with Noah, correct?
We're close,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, are they liars? Are they dishonest?
Everybody's a liar. I mean,
No, not necessarily.
everybody lies. I don't know why they would lie or why they got that common misconception that I
Would one of them have it?
The gun?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think one of them had it?
No.
Would somebody in your circle have it?
Nobody could get to it. My grandfather always kept it under his car or under the bed.
Naturally, Riley wasn't pleased that his friends had disclosed information about the gun they knew he had in his possession. His displeasure is clearly reflected in a text message thread between him and his friend Alex, shortly after Riley's only interview took place. "Why did you tell him about the gun?" Riley asks Alex. "They think I shot her because of it. Please text me back." Among Alex's replies, "If you didn't do anything, you have nothing to hide. Why did you tell me you were trying to get rid of the gun? You lied and said you already gave it back to your grandpa." Then that evening, Riley followed up with some questionable legal counsel for both Alex and Noah.
What I'm saying is if I have to go to court in front of a grand jury or anything and you have to testify, or if the cops come and talk to you again, whenever you talk to them, just be like, you were too afraid to tell them that you were on acid because you thought you were going to get in trouble.
No, that's true. I would never mention that,
Yeah, and if anything about that gun, just say, I must have misunderstood or something because I was tripping balls. I really don't know what was going on. He was just, like, Riley was just complaining to me about some stuff. I guess I thought I heard something about a gun. And his grandfather thinking that he took it. You know, if you tell them you're on LSD, you were drunk, and you were high, your mind was altered. Whatever statement you give them wasn't a straightforward answer. If you just tell them that you were on acid, high, and drunk, and just you didn't really understand what I was saying, you just kind of went along with it. I just tell them I was the only sober person here. And I guess I'll talk to Isaac, because Isaac's going to be sketchy about that too, with telling the cops that he was on a drug, but I'll talk to him another time.
The detectives decide it's time to confront Riley. It's obvious he isn't being forthcoming with them, and they definitely aren't convinced by his elaborate lies. They apply more pressure as they lay it all out for him.
We have a gun that belongs to your grandfather that is missing. Okay? We have all your friends saying that you've been talking about this gun. We have one of your friends saying that he saw you with the gun, that you showed him the gun, and that you told him you got it from your grandfather. Okay?
Okay.
I find it hard to believe that these guys are just making this shit up.
I don't have anything else to say. I've told you the truth from me. So that's, if it's going to be the same question, that's the same answer.
Riley is clearly frustrated at this point, but he sticks with his original story and remains consistent. In a last-ditch effort to get more from Riley, the detectives divulge a bit of what they've found so far.
We recovered some rounds, and those rounds happen to match the same type of ammunition that your grandfather uses in his gun.
So you do know how she died? And
I didn't say that. I said that we have recovered some rounds, and those rounds are the same type of rounds that your grandfather uses in his gun.
Look at his hand movement. Even while in his pocket, his hands shift up to cover his stomach when he's told the bullets match his grandfather's gun. When someone finds themselves in a vulnerable situation, they may put their hands over their stomach to comfort themselves and feel more protected. When a suspect doesn't show a level of concern that is appropriate for the situation, detectives will see this as a red flag. While it's true that people may handle grief and difficult news differently, having a complete lack of reaction to finding out the cause of your loved one's unexpected death would be unusual for someone who is innocent. Riley's focus throughout the interrogation has remained on himself, and he hasn't expressed any interest in finding out what happened to the girl he supposedly loved. Of course, we're now aware that he knows exactly what happened to Emma.
If I am able to find your grandfather's gun, then I can match that to these rounds that I found and determine whether or not that gun and these rounds are actually from the same place. So help me.
I'm helping you.
Okay.
I don't know.
I understand that.
Help me,
But
help me.
Riley sticks to his story.
Your timeline, while it's somewhat consistent, still has holes in it.
There's one major hole in his story.
You say you sat in the car for 3 hours and wept?
Yeah,
let me ask you, did you call anybody during that time? Any friends or family or anything like that?
Of course, Riley can't recall for sure. He'd have to take a look at his cell phone, which conveniently is not on him at this time. But with the help of local cell towers, Riley's path during those 3 hours is traced, and the findings completely destroy his story. Riley left campus slightly before 12:15 a.m., just as he'd stated.
Put the phone on him.
However, he didn't return until approximately 4:20 a.m. At the time Emma's death was estimated to have occurred, roughly around 3 a.m., Riley was clearly in the vicinity of Emma's home, nowhere near the college campus. This evidence is difficult to refute, to say the least. As the interview is coming to a close, the bad cop drops one more bombshell on Riley.
Outside that house today, the house was shot up, a couple rounds. All right. The rounds that were found out there, hold on.
Okay.
The rounds that were found out there came from your grandfather's gun.
I don't know where the gun's at.
Well, who would want to shoot that? Who would want to take your grandfather's gun and take it to that house and shoot at that house?
I don't know. I do not know where the gun is.
Do you know anybody who'd want to do that?
I don't know anyone that would ever want to hurt that girl.
Riley's detachment and lack of feeling for Emma is evidenced in the way he repeatedly refers to her as that girl, rather than using her name. This also allows him to distance himself from her. Riley remains unaffected by the pressure and is very confident, so much so that it almost seems as if this is something he's familiar with. Though Riley may appear unaffected by the pressure, he's rubbing his face, which is generally considered to be a self-soothing behavior. Then the detective proposes a potential explanation.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he's trying to hurt her. Maybe somebody's trying to scare her or something. I'm not saying that that's what's happened over there. But I'm saying that the house was shot.
No, I don't know anyone that would want to do that.
The detective seems to be trying to provide Riley with a way out, a possible explanation that he can use, because it's likely easier for Riley to confess that he was trying to scare Emma, rather than confessing to intentionally trying to shoot her. The detective is probably hoping that Riley will find himself cornered, and then ultimately confess to this less severe explanation of Emma's death. Make a mental note of the detective's explanation.
Maybe somebody's trying to scare her or something. I'm not saying that that's what's happened over there.
You'll see that it will surface again shortly. At this point, the detectives have found themselves between a rock and a hard place. They're not gaining any ground. The interview is concluded. Riley seems confident that he's outmaneuvered the detectives, as if he already has this one in the bag.
They interrogated me for 2.5 hours. If they could, they would have arrested me already.
Riley is likely feeling confident that as long as he gets rid of the gun, the detectives won't have enough evidence to convict him. He may have an inflated sense of self-esteem and believe he can outsmart the police and even get away with murder. However, as he sits on this very sofa before two of his closest friends and feeds them false information to relate to law enforcement, there's much more going on behind the scenes than he could ever imagine. The sting operation was carried out Tuesday night, just one day after Emma was murdered and Riley was questioned. As you heard, everything went down as planned, and the operation proved to be a success. When the trial rolled around in May of 2018, Riley and his attorneys adopted a creative defense. You probably recall this.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he's trying to hurt her. Maybe somebody's trying to scare her or something. I'm not saying that that's what's happened over there. But I'm saying that the house was shot.
No, I don't know anyone that would want to do that.
Well, according to his attorney, Riley had never intended to harm Emma. The 2 gunshots that pierced the exterior walls of her home were simply another attempt to scare Emma in hopes she'd reach out to him for help once again. He never intended to shoot her, they claimed. In the end, though, the jury found no credibility in the defense. Riley was found guilty of stalking, theft, reckless endangerment, possession of a firearm during a dangerous felony, and, of course, first-degree murder. And in Tennessee, a first-degree murder conviction is accompanied by an automatic life sentence. In keeping with her thoughtful nature, March 24th will remain Emma Walker Day in Knoxville. It will remain a time to recall the happy memories and perform random acts of kindness in memory of a kind soul whose life was cut far too short.
Oh, yeah. You see the way he tossed that up there? Like a gentleman.
Don't be doing this to me.
Philadelphia starts with the basketball.
Don't be doing this to that shit.
Patted on the fan by Kyle Lowry, who is
out of the starting lineup. Goddamn.
Acting like a coach right now.
Xbox.
Paul George,
first
basket of the game, number 8. Fadeaway jumper in the mid-range.
Paul George
coming over from LA. Clippers, 4-year deal for Paul George. Creative use of the spin. Brandon Miller on top of Kelly Oubre. Out the eye of a lot of people.
I'm not gonna put my real glasses on.
Probably thought he'd be a backup.
Hell nah. I'm at the end of this shit. I can't even see. Nigga, what?
Look at Nick Richards. That's what the Hornets have been missing. Paul George. Yabu.
I ain't gonna I'm gonna watch this shit by myself. This bitch skipping like shit. Cause I like if I do on 480, like hell no.
Shelly, couple of power dribbles. Ooh, that was nice. Little dream shake. Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's got.
I don't like that. Shit, fuck that fool. Let me go put CC's on. You gonna work today, nigga.
Got all the confidence in the world. Nick's got to be careful. He did foul out of the game on Saturday. 6 fouls in 25 minutes. Here's Paul George.
Shut the fuck up, fool. I can't even enjoy this shit already. Like, I'm really about to end the stream.
Paul George with 2,270 career 3-pointers. Only 10 men with more in the history of the NBA. Tijon wants it.
Water.
Yep, you can tell he was hungry for that basketball. Tijon did not score in the loss on Saturday. It was 0 for 8 from the
man,
field.
Cold as hell.
Good to see him back on the beam.
Man, cold as hell.
Hum Diddly D, welcome home. That's all you get.
Get
it out of the way early. Paul George to Oubre.
That's the water, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, you don't want to let Kelly go.
So the Oubre really.
Philadelphia brings in their rookie from Duke, Jared McCain. McCain off to a good start in his pro career. Oubre. Kelly Oubre with a chef's kiss. He has attempted 3 shots. Adem Bona. He's in center right now, banging with Mark Williams. Brandon, so smooth.
No doubt, yeah, he has that ability.
Sixers make a change. They bring a kid out of Durham into the ball game. Adem Bona. You're number 30. You better be able to play.
The way he can for a rookie.
Bad pass picked off by McCain. Philadelphia leads by 10 with the ball.
Yo.
McCain's got a quick 5. Shot clock's already down to 4. Cody. Oh,
yo.
Yeah. Pretty 18-footer for Cody Martin. Hard drive into the paint. Pass was deflected, intended for Richards. Numbers for Philadelphia. Council. Philadelphia with just 3 miscues.
Rook been really
play our
doing
second
shit,
quarter.
man.
Philly's not a high assist team. So if you don't,
right
you
on
don't pass the ball, you go one-on-one. There's 12 free throw attempts already in this game. Only 1 so far for the 76ers.
Paul George spins in a three-pointer. Second three-pointer for Paul George. Sixers last year were a playoff team. 7th best record in the Eastern Conference. 47 wins. Paul George with a three-pointer.
I ain't gonna lie. That's cap.
In years past, we've seen
want
Paul
that baby
George
down
wearing
the paint.
24 in Indiana, number 13 in Indiana. That was wearing 8.
I don't want to be competing with
Oh,
you.
goodness, Paul George.
For real.
There you go. What a fine
Nice.
green.
Yeah. Move without the ball. That last three he took.
Skip pass to George. Quarter three, Oubre. He's 4 for 4, shooting 3.
Kelly Oubre being fucking good. And it's not even the second half. Ooh.
Yabusele did knock Simpson right out of the way.
Ooh.
Dunk for Martin. And the Hornets have to call
Shoot the
it
fuck
7.
out, fool.
Space, grabbed it back, and laid it up quick.
Oh my goodness. Back-to-back dunks by KJ Martin.
Martin's dad.
You should go with Martin. KJ Martin, the guy who just missed the 3. What? 6'6". He had 173 dunks a couple years ago when he was a Houston Rocket. That's what got me thinking about this question. Brandon Miller.
I know
Wilt
the
is still-
Hornets are getting cooked
Wilt
right now, but don't count them out.
Paul George looks good at number 8. Hornets have had to play the last couple of games in this homestand without LaMelo Ball, who is, of course, a huge part of what they do. There's a dunk for Nick Richards. 0 for 5 is the Dancing Bear. Okay, Brandon Miller put it right in Yabusele's eye. And was such a good international player that the NBA came calling again.
Yeah, I think because of the Olympics that he had, really is why he got a chance to resurrect his career. Brandon Miller.
Or maybe he was saying my guy's over in the corner. Paul George.
That was a nice
and
little
one possibility. He's 4 for 4 from behind the arc. He's missed all of his 2-point shots, but he gets credit for that one. Brandon Miller, his third three-pointer.
He's figured out.
Yeah,
He played for Eric Musselman at Nevada Reno. And then both came into the NBA at the same time with the
Paul George
Hornets.
like John touch.
Here's McCain. This guy can shoot, man.
Yeah, this guy can score.
This is going to sound totally weird, but he reminds
They really
me
gotta
of
sell
the
it to
body
you right
type
now.
and hair of Henry Bibby. Oh, remember Henry Bibby? Yeah. Kind of squat a little bit. Rebounded by his twin brother, Caleb. McCain! Some things you guess at, other things you just know. Hey,
Damn,
John
big
gets
man.
the ball. Wow. They were teammates last year with the Clippers. Musa knows his
Nigga number
game.
31.
McCain. Oh, my. Henry Bibby smiling. Nick Smith Jr. This guy can shoot. Love me some Nick Smith Jr.
It's good action right there.
I don't like what's
Paul George. Spits
They
it over
right
Caleb
though,
Martin.
sports trying to make
Made.
Uber
And he
Eats
hit
like
a shot
shit.
in the first 3 quarters. Hits a corner 3.
Oh,
Nick
that's
Smith Jr. out the window. Cody Martin rings the bell. 3 more for Cody.
Finding his spots on the floor, being active defensively. Love the fact he's rebounding the ball.
Yes, sir.
Look at this. Welcome back to the ball game, Nick Richards. Wow, Nick called for it.
Big man number 4. Better be the coach.
Brandon swirls it through.
Confusion.
Kelly Oubre is checked back in for the Sixers.
Miller really
That
coach.
facility didn't want to shoot that 3 anymore. Paul George does, though. That's the guy who should be shooting.
Told you I don't count him out, though.
Lowry forces the Hornets to reset.
Brandon Miller about to yank. He been one motherfucking hang with LaMelo, man.
Wow. Quick catch and shoot. Could it be?
Brandon and Paul George have combined for 60 points. What we expected. Paul George.
Here we go. Wanted that ball out of his hands as quickly as he could.
Brandon's open.
Give me that shit, nigga. Give me this shit.
They've gone on a 30-14 run to make this a game. Maxey going 1,000 miles an hour, softly puts it up and in. KJ Simpson tapped up and in with a left hand, Nick Richards. Hornets have shot 10 more free throws than Philadelphia. That's kept him in the game. Cody Martin cuts and finishes.
Nice work over there, everybody.
Paul George. Stop. Me.
He's good. They're gonna run this play until you stop it.
Yabusele straight to the rack. Deflected into the arms of Simpson. Hornets are in the bonus. Miller got it! And the Hornets win the race to 100. Maxey doesn't settle. Me, he always goes straight to the cup.
I ain't even gonna celebrate because this whole about to, I know it's a tough one.
Nick rolls, pushes it through. Back to a 2-point game.
Like Miller really cooking.
Taps it away.
Come on, man.
Good overplay by Yabusele. Everyone in the building knew that pass was going to go to Brandon. And Yabusele played it beautifully. And that's the way the ball game ends.
Wow. That hurts. Wow. We came back though, man. We came back. I think it's the last one of this for real.
Matchup, but the Mavs need to take care of business.
6 straight wins for Memphis, 8 of the last 9 to our right and in possession of the ball after the opening tip. Here's Morant, and he goes to Jaren Jackson Jr. for a corner 3 this couple of weeks, but that post-up unsuccessful. Here's a drive by Morant, a shot fake, a leave underneath. Wow. And on the way down.
Facing this evening, they don't get ready to play. They come ready to play. Nice finish on the inside by Kai.
Off
the rebound is tipped around, and Wells has it, and Jackson will shoot a second 3 of the game and make his second 3 of the game.
Go out there and get it done.
Morant looks off the defense. Washington dives in front of Brandon Clark and steals. Nice. Up ahead, Lively running the floor. Big finish.
Lively,
like
boy.
It's going to be like for 6 months. But your buddy Keith Grant always tells the story about giving the schedule to Dick Mott in the summer, way back in the 80s.
Old man 3.
Well, times are different.
Yeah, and that's probably better. He's probably making the better decision than me, as that's a good decision.
I like it.
Morant makes a pass to Jaren Jackson Jr. after a coming together between he and Luka. Jackson puts it down. A 4-point game against the Mavs. Feast or famine for him.
That was nice though.
Against Dallas last season. Luka with the step back.
Hey, got the
season series between Dallas and Memphis. 4 games. Road team won every game. Oh, Lively has it blocked by Jackson, but stays after it.
So guys are really engaged.
Quentin Grimes has come in for Dallas. Luka launches and hits a 3 over Wells.
6 straight games.
Yep.
Dallas 4. So there's a
I'm
lot
trying to
to
see.
play
They be
for.
getting cold sometimes.
Explosive thrust to the basket by Desmond. Gafford has switched on to Vane. Jake LaRavia. And LaRavia got it to Quality.
That was acrobatic.
It was weird for him. He got traded and was hurt, so you got to get reacclimated.
Santi Aldama hits a 3-pointer. Loose ball.
See what I'm saying?
50-50 balls here for Dallas.
Yes, sir.
Patiently and
That's the
effectively
answer.
and scoring with the left hand. Some Dinwiddie open 3. Jackson a rebound. 6 seconds. They're pushing. They're running. LaRavia. He misses, but Aldama falls it home. Rehab.
Yeah, we got the great song Rehab. Buddy.
Who was that?
Somebody. I saw
Music
that.
royalty.
Now here's Moran on the way down, made a late decision to pass. Clark fumbled it, and Dallas has numbers because of the hit. And again.
He made it harder on himself, made a more difficult shot.
Clark with another push shot in the paint. Injury suffered in March of 2023. A couple of good shooters matched up. They Thompson and Kennard playing the pass, and Lively with the big.
Lives have been big.
Averaging 9 points, 7 boards. Morant. 11 patient shot by John. Ball worked its way back to Smart, who lost his footing and lost the ball. Now it's running. Got the big three. Grimes to PJ in underneath the basket and letting them play. This is what I want out of
bullying them for real. They too small.
Dallas looking for three. Their shooting percentage.
They too small type
shit. On the back shoulder fade by Kai to Derek Lively. Lively screens. And Luka connects on another three ball. Wow. Uh-oh. And Luka went one way, played through it the other. John Morant. Right now by 7. Morant in the open.
Oh my God. Oh my Jesus.
Dallas with the outlet. Kennard got in the way.
Smooth, calm, collected. Yes, sir.
Somebody like that out there driving around, it's crazy looking.
Gafford screens, Luka. Oh,
and one.
Tosses it in. 5 games, those 6 games, Dallas went 5-1. Jay Hubb catches the alley-oop from Scottie Pippen Jr.
With 36 points. That's a good disruption.
Kyrie had it taken away by Pippen. Hold on the Mavs here in the first half. Part of why they have 8 turnovers. Travel. Aldama reverse dunk.
That was nice.
Pippen driving in on Dinwiddie. Ball not free. Dallas picks it up. 6th turnover of the game for Memphis. They turned it over 17 times a game. 3rd most in the league. A heave and a hit.
Nice.
Drive by Aldama.
Oh.
Another kind bounce. Wells had one a moment ago.
Hit the head. What the fuck was that?
Another kind bounce.
Wells nah, they need to mop like shit. This nigga couldn't even stand up. His ankles, bro.
First layup is scored there by Memphis. By Maine. And Jackson is still
out of it.
Still plenty of time. Got Lively as the screener. The double goes to Luka.
It's the home court.
Luka. More good passes. Dinwiddie. 3-ball corner pocket. And the Mavs are going to go from here to Washington and Toronto. Washington, big block. Too wild.
You'll be at every one, huh?
Here's Desmond Bane. Off the elbow. Hits a pull-up. He's been back. His best scoring effort was 16 against Indiana on Sunday. Morant drifts back and hits a corner 3. To open up quarter number 3. Morant over Klay Thompson. Difficult shot falling home. Bane, there's some juice.
Woo,
the action was the juice.
So got blocked time, guys.
This nigga over here, boy. I know he be catching air, but
going downhill, layup is good, and that ends the clean sheet of the game for the Mavs.
All right.
Now they're going to have 2 in a row. Luka jumps the passing lane. Luka advanced it up ahead to Lively. And then a look.
Hey!
And what a finish! Chase off the line. Well, same
I
spot.
need to replay.
Now they're going to have 2 in a row. Luka jumps the passing lane.
Can we just
get
this one more time?
And then a look.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Off the line. Well, same spot, different result. Offside rebound, Brandon Clark. Morant to Bane, wide open.
Yes. Why this team is so much better.
Yes.
John's numbers are down as Gafford finishes inside. That's the cycle. They didn't win games.
They only
but those guys that were out there gave it everything. Uh-oh.
Aldama guys home the alley-oop.
Talking about right now, defensively, Memphis has really nice drive there.
And then a difficult finish. Grimes finally. Dinwiddie opens up one.
Third quarter we losing momentum. It's alright. We'll be closing out strong type shit in the fourth.
Down the edge of the lane, Dinwiddie.
Yes, Thirsty. Cleaning up shit. Mopping up shit.
Scottie Pippen floats over to a vacated area. And Pippen hits it with some energy. Memphis is a +16 on the board here in the 3rd quarter. And there's Kyrie Irving driving into a walk-up 3. Morant misses. What an outlet pass. And another lead by Dinwiddie to Gafford.
Yes, there's Ski.
Scores.
Man, that was...
Memphis is led by as many as 13. Now it's down to 9. Morant soft touch again. Back down here by Jaren Jackson Jr. He scores.
That's out of timeout. That's a good
4 points in 18 minutes for him tonight. Morant trying to break down the defense. He spins and ducks under Klay Thompson. To the baseline, Luka.
Needed.
He's gonna shoot in your face.
That's insane, man.
To a rolling Daniel
Hey,
Gafford.
he had to grab that motherfucker.
Dribble penetration.
Yeah.
Let's go. Laravia lost. Blake Thompson pushes the tempo. PJ Washington spotting up.
Yay.
Hit, lost the rebound. Jackson came away with it. Morant
We don't.
changing
I don't know.
direction on the
Like,
drive and
I hope
finishing softly
Clay don't
again.
die in Dallas. Like,
Screen
he
by
ain't
Brandon Clark. Aldama
cooking
blocks
or
the three.
nothing.
Going to the hole.
Gotta stay down.
Up by 2. They're up right now by 11 early in the fourth quarter of that
And they're
game.
more than likely gonna play the Golden State Warriors to get to the Emerald Cup Finals.
Draws the foul.
Since we in the
Way
West.
high on the pass to Bain, so he goes back to Smart. 5-point game. Deep
Ooh.
three, good. Morant. He's hit 2 threes tonight.
Big time players though, make big time plays.
Dallas is the new Cleveland, like shit.
Right back at you. What did you just say?
Go, yes.
Running.
Push it up, push it up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Jackson is reaching. Kyrie is driving. An extra pass. And Dinwiddie saves.
Yeah. Settle down, let me cook. Settle down, let me cook.
Said this was happening.
Yeah.
Jackson misses. Bain rebounds. He lays it in. Dallas running time. Luka faked the 3, made the pass. PJ's open. PJ hits it. Timeout.
It's over, baby. It's over, baby.
Luka missed both free throws. Game over,
Yeah.
though. The Mavericks win this game 121-116.
It's all said and done. It's over, baby. Bruh. This motherfucker here. It's going slow as shit. I'm gonna watch that shit later in my free time. I kinda don't want to, but I do. Dowsing. Fuck it, I ain't pussy.
Hello, everyone.
Pause stuff. I want some popcorn. I should honestly just eat some real food. I miss popcorn. Covered in blood.
And welcome back to Scary Interesting. In this video, we're going to go over 3 more horrifying cave stories.
Great.
One of these features a brutally tight squeeze, which really is the stuff of nightmares. Then, in contrast, the other 2 feature some of the largest caves anywhere on Earth. So as always, viewer discretion is advised. If you enjoy Scary Interesting, odds are that you enjoy stories of humanity surviving, or sometimes not, in a horror fiction podcast. It's an audio story similar to Scaries of a mysterious worst, and they also make a number of shocking discoveries lurking beneath the ice. The sunless Arctic snowscape. The creators of the show also go through like Iceland, White Vault. All story is also now available. New season is also available, which follow and spin-offs. So,
That's like the longest
do some wilderness activity. Night camp near a cave named Hermit Cave. The 3 of them were in the area to do some wilderness activities and try out caving for the first time. Hermit Cave is located somewhere in the Woodland Park area near Fort Gibson Lake in Oklahoma, but unfortunately I couldn't find the exact location. Honestly though, with how this story ends, it's probably a good thing the cave isn't more well known. 200 million years ago, Oklahoma and the surrounding area were covered by water as part of an ancient sea. Over time, the water receded and evaporated, leaving behind huge deposits of minerals. Then, in addition to that, other geological processes pushed the underlying layer of gypsum close to the surface. Gypsum is a fairly soft and easily dissolved mineral, so over time, water carved out tunnels to form the caves present in Oklahoma and the surrounding area. Because of the leftover mineral deposits, some of these have large and beautiful crystal formations within them. Hermit Cave, however, is almost the exact opposite. The cave entrance is little more than a dirt-covered opening 2 feet wide and 3 feet long, and the rest of it is just as unimpressive. After spending the night camped nearby, the friend that was with Robert and his brother had to leave to go to work, but rather than leave with him, Robert and his brother wanted to do some exploring. In particular, although this was his first time caving, Robert wanted to go into Hermit Cave and see how far it went. But also, because this was his first time caving, Robert didn't really know what he was doing. It just seemed like a fun thing to do. This meant he also wasn't all that prepared and was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He also only had 1 flashlight, no helmet, and no backup lights. He also likely didn't know about the bad air present within the cave. This occurs when a cave has poor circulation and the air inside isn't safe to breathe for long periods of time. But either way, after squeezing through the small opening, Robert and his brother continued on through the increasingly tight passages. Eventually, Robert went through a small side passage that seemed to narrow even further. Then he got 50 feet in, then 100 feet in, and it was becoming so tight it was hard to even take a full breath. Then at 150 feet in, there was a restriction that was the smallest point they'd gotten to so far. From Robert's vantage point, the tunnel seemed to angle downward to the squeeze and then widen out again afterward. So after thinking about it for a moment, he decided to try to squeeze through it. Head first, he pushed his body forward with his arms at his sides as the tunnel squeezed him tighter and tighter. After some struggle, Robert came to a stop and realized he was fully wedged. It was too tight to continue forward, and because of the angle and because his arms were pinned by his sides, he didn't have enough leverage to push himself backward. Even worse, he was stuck with his face right above the wet, muddy floor of the cave. After trying desperately to free himself with no luck, his brother tried as well, but either couldn't reach him or just couldn't pull him out. So with no other options, his brother was forced to leave to go get help, leaving Robert in this inverted position. Rescue teams and paramedics arrived shortly afterward, and Robert's brother led them to the little dirt opening. Then, over the next several hours, the teams worked to remove dirt and rocks to widen the area enough to reach Robert to get him out.
Damn,
the entire time they were doing this as well, air had to be pumped into the cave because of how bad the air quality was inside. On top of that, even the thinnest paramedic to enter the cave couldn't even take full breaths part of the way to the restriction. Finally, they would reach Robert at 3 p.m., 5 hours after he'd gotten stuck, and tragically, he was dead. He was face down in the mud and seemed to have died of suffocation. His body was eventually pulled out of the cave, but it's not clear if he passed out due to the poor air quality or if he just couldn't hold himself up anymore out of the mud. The tallest, most prominent, and probably the most impressive mountain in the Canadian Rockies is Mount Robson, standing at almost 13,000 feet or 4,000 meters. A few miles east of Mount Robson is another mountain named Trio Mountain, which is far less impressive in height. However, it's not the mountain itself that's impressive, it's what's inside of it. The closest and only road running through this incredibly remote stretch of mountains is the Yellowhead Highway. The highway itself sits at 3,000 feet elevation, then another almost 4,000 feet up from there, on the side of Trio Mountain, is the opening to the second deepest cave in Canada, named Artemis Cave. At 1,760 feet deep, or 536 meters deep, it's also one of the deepest caves anywhere on Earth. And not only is it massive in size, but it's also incredibly difficult to get to. On foot, it's a 20-kilometer hike through forests and around mountains from the highway, which is usually done over several days. This makes flying in by helicopter the most efficient, but obviously, for most, that's prohibitively costly. On top of that, although Artemis may be famous for its depth, that's only part of what makes it difficult. The descent to the bottom is broken up in two sections, and the very first cavers have to traverse is known as the Endless Climb. Much of this section is either extremely steep or completely vertical shafts. The cave does level out the deeper you go, but either way, this means cavers have to rappel down what are essentially cliff faces inside a cave. Many of these are also filled with ice-cold runoff from the surrounding mountains and glaciers. On the afternoon of October 17, 1991, Rick Black, Chris Zimmerman, Hugo Mullick, and Ron Lassell readied themselves to be airlifted to the entrance of Artemis Cave. Rick, Chris, and Hugo were seasonal rangers at Mount Robson Provincial Park, and all four of the men were experienced cavers. After the helicopter dropped the men off outside the entrance to Artemis Cave, they wasted little time in getting the base camp set up. Then they split into two groups. First, Rick and Chris entered. Then, 3 hours later, Ron and Hugo followed, and they all planned to meet up later on. For the next few hours, they would work their way deeper and deeper into the earth. When they reached a depth of around 1,300 feet or 400 meters at 11:30 that night, they arrived at a vertical shaft called the Refresher. At about 29 feet between the ledge of the Refresher to the floor below, it's not the most intimidating drop in the entire cave, but what does make it tricky though is the full-on frigid waterfall that cavers have to rappel down and then climb back up through. It's almost impossible to get through without getting soaked. Either way, once secured, they descended the Refresher one at a time. Then once they were at the bottom, they went to descend the next section. When it was Rick's turn, he grabbed hold of the rope, performed a final safety check, and inched his way across the ledge. Then, a moment after the rope went taut with the full weight of Rick's body on one end, it went slack. What Rick didn't know was that what he had tied the rope to wasn't bedrock, it was actually an unstable 400-kilogram boulder. So when he started to move, his weight caused the boulder to come free and then slide down on top of him.
Oh my god.
Rick's pelvis was then crushed by the boulder and he was knocked unconscious.
Oh my god.
The others quickly rushed to Rick's aid, and to their relief, he was alive, but the pain of his injuries was intense and he was slurring his words when he came to. They weren't sure the full extent of his injuries, but his pelvis was likely broken at the very least. There was no chance he was getting out under his own power. Because they were avid cavers, the men were knowledgeable in first aid, but Rick needed much more serious medical attention. They really had just two options. They could try to carry Rick out, or two of them could leave in search of help, while the other stayed with Rick in the cave. At first, they tried to carry him, but they only moved him a few feet before he screamed for them to stop. Without a proper stretcher, there was no way they could get him out without causing more damage. So, with nothing else to do, they had to split up. Chris stayed with Rick, and then Hugo and Ron left to get help. It's difficult to put into perspective just how daunting of a mission this was. Some caves had parking lots right outside the entrance, but getting out of Artemis was only part of the battle. The only fast way on or off the mountain was by helicopter, but Hugo and Ron didn't have any way to get in touch with the pilot. Their emergency radio also failed to make contact with the tower, so in order to call emergency services, they would need to climb out of the cave, then walk the 20 kilometers to the highway and flag someone down. Just getting back to the entrance took almost 5 hours. Then when they finally reached the highway, 14 hours had passed since they left Rick and Chris, and they had walked in the forest all night. After Hugo and Ron left, Chris huddled next to Rick to keep him as warm as possible. Temperatures at that depth were freezing, and it was only a matter of time before they got hypothermic. Making things worse, they were in pitch blackness. To preserve their light as much as possible, both men turned their headlamps off and listened to the water pouring around them. There was little more they could do other than shiver and wait for help to arrive. As soon as the RCMP were alerted to Rick's ordeal on the afternoon of October 18th, they mobilized on multiple fronts. The provincial government sent 3 planes to Vancouver Island to pick up cavers with rescue training to assist in the effort to save Rick. Recreational cavers also drove in from all over to offer their help too. At first light on the morning of October 19th, almost 36 hours after the incident, a helicopter dropped off the first rescuers and then returned to pick up more. While some rescue personnel were being transported, others set up a large headquarters with tents in the valley below the cave. Unfortunately, Rick and Chris were oblivious to how much activity was going on outside the cave to reach them, and hope was fading on the morning of the 19th. Their shivering had gotten much worse, and by then, Chris, who was completely uninjured, was deteriorating right alongside Rick. About 30 hours into this, Rick turned to Chris and urged him to leave the cave. If things kept going like this, they'd both be dead within hours. Chris initially protested, but Rick insisted he leave while he still had enough in him to make it to the entrance. He had to think about it for a moment, but reluctantly, Chris gathered up his gear and told Rick that he'd be back for him with help to bring him home. Sometime around midday, Chris spotted headlamps in the tunnel ahead of him. The first group of rescuers were a fair distance into the cave already, and they rushed to Chris when they saw him. Chris then told them he was fine and provided more information about Rick's condition before continuing on to the cave entrance. Then, finally that afternoon, Chris appeared at the entrance of the cave and was immediately tended to. Emergency personnel stabilized him before he was airlifted to a nearby hospital to be treated for hypothermia. Around the same time, rescuers carrying medical equipment, heating pads, and dry clothing finally made it to Rick, but they were too late.
Yeah.
Rick died shortly before their arrival.
Damn.
The news eventually made its way through to the rescue team, and many burst into tears. Since the caving community is relatively small, many of them knew Rick well. After the initial shock of Rick's death passed and the rescue became a recovery mission, search and rescue would need another 2 days for several teams of 10 to carry Rick's body out of Artemis Cave. An autopsy was then performed, and the coroner determined that there was no scenario in which Rick would survive the ordeal. The moment that rock slipped, his fate was sealed.
Yeah.
The boulder had caused catastrophic damage to Rick's body, including many of his major organs. Even with immediate medical attention at a well-equipped hospital, the result would have been the same. The autopsy also showed that Rick's cause of death were the injuries he suffered and not hypothermia, like many of the rescuers thought was the case. To this day, the rescue within Artemis Cave is the most extensive in Canadian history. More than 1,000 years ago, a group of Native Americans from the Timbisha Shoshone tribe wandered into the Mojave Desert and decided to stay. This desert is located across much of the southern portions of California and Nevada, and the arid and sweltering climate there is an interesting choice of place to settle, to say the least. However, despite this, the people thrived in this often hostile environment, so much so that around 300 of their descendants can still be found in the area today. Right along the border of California and Nevada, in a section of the Mojave once inhabited by this tribe, sits a strange geological feature surrounded by barren desert on all sides. From high above, it looks like a small crack in a cliffside, but from down below, it's more like a chasm. It widens to be about 8 feet wide and 60 feet in length, and at the bottom is a crystal clear geothermal pool. And the natives who knew of this pool would tell their children a legend about what they called water babies that lived inside this water. Supposedly, if the children swam for too long in the water, they'd become a meal for one of these water babies. Some of the elders even said that the pool was the entrance to a network of tunnels that mystical shamans used to travel from place to place in the desert. Modern-day studies and findings have found more natural explanations for its existence, but even still, so much about the pool, known today as Devil's Hole, is still unknown. And this mystery and the descriptions of its underwater beauty in newspapers in the 1960s is exactly what drew the fascination of Paul Giancontieri. Paul was a 19-year-old cafeteria worker at a Nevada test site for nuclear devices and often talked with friends about Devil's Hole and how much he wanted to dive in. And about a year after he first learned about it, he finally got his chance. Paul managed to convince his friends, 20-year-old David Rose, 19-year-old Bill Alter, and his brother, 20-year-old Jack Alter, to join him.
Yeah.
Then on June 20th, 1965, the four of them made the 90-mile trip to Devil's Hole. Now, Devil's Hole isn't just some natural, untouched spring that you can take a leisurely swim in. It's actually a restricted area that was surrounded by just a fence in the 1960s, but today it's much more protected for several reasons. Devil's Hole is unlike anywhere else in the world. It's believed that it could be the deepest cave in the world, and at one time it was thought to be an entryway to an underground ocean. In fact, just the water contained within it is historically significant. Water flows into Devil's Hole through a long network of underground tunnels from the area of the desert where nuclear weapons were tested. And Devil's Hole is one of the endpoints of all this water. The slow-moving underground water that starts as rain or snow near the test site slowly makes its way to Devil's Hole over the course of 15,000 years. So as a result of the nuclear tests, radioactive water will begin to fill the hole in another 15,000 years. Weirdly as well, it's also some sort of natural detector of seismic activity.
Oh my
Earthquakes
God.
that occur in the western
Somebody's
hemisphere
gonna
as
swim
far
in
away
it.
as Asia cause mini tsunamis about 15 minutes later at the entrance to the pool, and no
Somebody's
one
gonna
knows why.
swim in it and
The
come
biggest
out
reason for
with
protecting
3
Devil's
legs,
Hole, however, funny enough, is just a tiny little fish known as the Devil's Hole pupfish. These bright blue inch-long fish are found in the water in the hole and only in the water in the hole. Some experts theorize the pupfish have been there for at least 20,000 years, but how they got there is unclear. Either way, they spawn in the shallow limestone entrance to the pool and live their entire lives between the surface and 80 feet deep, feeding on the small amount of algae that grows in the rocks in the water. To ensure the pupfish would be protected forever, President Harry Truman added the expanse around Devil's Hole to the Death Valley National Park in 1952. Then, during the early 1960s, a professional diver named Jim Houts was given permission to perform a series of dives at Devil's Hole to explore what was beneath the surface. Jim then mapped out what he saw during those dives and began piecing together the most comprehensive understanding of the layout of the tunnels available. During this, he found that around 100 feet or 30 meters, the large main chamber turns into a tight restriction known as the funnel. Then, once through it, divers enter an area known as Acre's Chasm. This chamber is massive. It's around 300 feet long and 40 feet wide, and off to one side has several vertical tubes that lead to air pockets close to the surface. The floor of this chamber is also concave and dips deeper and deeper into a hole just wide enough for a diver with air tanks to fit through. And since the hole narrows as it descends, there is a downward current that gets stronger and stronger the deeper you go. During his exploration, Jim went as far as he could, but never did find the true bottom of Devil's Hole. His discoveries, however, were groundbreaking and covered extensively by the media as a result. This is how Paul came to learn about Devil's Hole. It was Jim's descriptions of the shimmering, colorful rock walls of the main chamber that influenced Paul to plan a dive there. The thing is, Paul was not a professional diver. He wasn't even much of a diver at all. The only thing that could be considered a plan was the decision to go there. Everything else was an afterthought. Loading up their equipment for the trip consisted of tossing a couple of old air tanks, masks, snorkels, and flashlights into a car, so this wasn't exactly a sophisticated trip. When the group arrived in the vicinity of Devil's Hole after sundown, they parked the car along Devil's Hole Road, grabbed what little gear they brought, and started the short walk to the desert chasm. Just over a bluff, Devil's Hole and its surrounding fence came into view, as did the warning signs warning visitors to keep out. Unfortunately, the four men didn't even notice them as they scaled the fence and walked down to the edge of the pool. Paul, David, and Bill then stripped down to their bathing suits and started to enter the pool near the shallow limestone shelf so critical to the pupfish. Once they were there as well, Jack decided not to join them and would instead keep a lookout at the surface in case anyone spotted them. After some playful teasing of Jack for backing out, the other three slipped under the water's surface. For Paul, the descent was everything Jim described to reporters. Since they needed the cover of darkness to pull this off, the sunlight reflecting off the colorful walls was absent, but they were still breathtaking in the flashlight beams. After exploring for a bit, Bill's tank showed that his air supply was much lower than anticipated for the amount of time they were underwater. He then got Paul and David's attention and did his best to communicate through gestures that he needed to return to the surface. They seemed to understand, and then all three started their descent. David surfaced a little after midnight, and Bill was right behind him. They stayed in the water as they excitedly told Jack what it was like down there, but they soon noticed that Paul had not only not resurfaced, but there was no sign of him at all.
What the hell?
There were no bubbles, no faint beam of light deeper down, just nothing. At first, they figured Paul may have changed his mind during ascent and had enough air to stay longer, but David and Paul didn't want to take a chance anyway. Suddenly panicked that their friend might be in trouble, they frantically descended into the water again. As they got farther from the water surface, they got more and more anxious. There were still no bubbles coming out from below them, and there were no signs of Paul's light anywhere. It was all darkness. Then when they reached the 175-foot mark, Bill had to rush back to the surface. He didn't have enough air to go any further, and he might not have even had enough to make it back. Without signaling David, Bill started an immediate ascent. Then when he popped out of the water at the surface, Bill and Jack looked at each other and knew without saying a word that this was bad. And the situation was bad enough with Paul missing, but after waiting at the surface for a while for David, they realized he wasn't coming back either. Bill then hurried out of the water and ran back to the car with Jack, and with no other option, they sped southeast down a desolate desert road 90 miles to Las Vegas. Before sunup on June 21st, the search and rescue team from the Sheriff's Department and several Death Valley National Park rangers started to arrive at Devil's Hole. When they learned about the emergency, police made a phone call to a diver they knew could find the missing man.
Okay, so phones were invented.
The same man who
Why did we drive 90 miles to Vegas?
Inspired the men to be down there at all was now charged with finding them. Jim then organized the divers and assigned roles to each of them before a handful of them descended into Devil's Hole. Meanwhile, members of Paul and David's family started showing up at Devil's Hole shortly afterward too. And as if the whole situation needed any more tragedy, Paul and David had officially joined the same family just a few months earlier. David married Paul's sister, and the two friends had been adjusting to life as brothers-in-law. By then, Paula stood crying outside of Devil's Hole with the growing prospect of losing her brother and husband at the same time. For the next 36 straight hours, Jim and 44 rescue divers searched non-stop for Paul and David. Unfortunately, all they found were a mask and snorkel, as well as a flashlight tied to a rock around the 100-foot mark, likely as an indicator of which way the exit was. Tragically, neither of the men seemed to have found this indicator. During one of these dives as well, Jim and his partner dropped a depth line, which is a line with a weight on it. Apparently, this line got to a depth of 932 feet without ever touching a bottom. Jim then named this section the Infinity Room, but the two decided not to explore it because of the depth, small entrance, and the strong current flowing into it. Finally, the search was called off on the evening of June 22nd, and almost 60 years later, their bodies have still never been found.
Fuck.
If you made it this far, thanks so much for tuning in. If you have a story...
Damn. W. Nah. This haircut is crazy.
When a 15-year-old LeBron was playing against a 38-year-old Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Give us a story of that pickup run you were at.
Well, you know, everybody knew who he was. He was already famous. He was bigger than all of us.
Like, look, he was cooking. He was like, damn, you still got that. Oh, man. LeBron James is the first YN, for real. Man, that stick was good as shit. Ooh, that bitch was strong as shit. What the fuck? I thought that was a training.
Have you experienced any side effects?
Por enquanto, no.
Not yet. Not yet. Have you had any side effects from not being natural?
I've just had an easier time recovering and building muscle, so not really, no.
One side effect from that bothers me the most is the voice.
Okay.
The voice changed. When I first started, I was taking my voice dropped fast. And I was a singer back then.
No way.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you can't sing the same?
I don't, no.
Is there anything you can do?
No.
Wow.
Also have stress urinary incontinence.
What's that?
When I lift heavy, I pee involuntarily.
What the
yes,
hell?
It's a real thing.
It's fine. Have you experienced any side effects?
What the hell? Do I want to watch anything else? I like shit like this. After hearing that intro, something popped up in my head. Not the video, the song. Honestly, this is my first time seeing a video, so. Late ass, it's a reaction.
I be doing shit I really shouldn't do for real. That's why I always still come through for real. After this time I'll be through for real. Shit I really shouldn't do for real. That's why I always take come through.
Is that a girl?
After this time I'll be through for real. I know you ain't no good for me, but you feel so good to me. Every time I come back, I try to leave. So how you end up back with me? Oh,
And cut.
what I want, this is something else. Something that ain't good for my health. And I've been searching, but I can't get no help. And I don't feel like myself. Oh, I be doing shit I really shouldn't do. That's why I always say come through for real. After this time I'll be through for real. After this time I'll be through.
Big ass kid.
I be doing shit I really shouldn't do for real. That's why I always say come through for real. After this time I'll be through for real. After this time I'll be through for real. I can feel them walls closing. I can feel it all. I'm stuck in your claws. Try to run but I don't get far. I'ma put some blame on me. Tryna take accountability, but you take all my ability. You're the death in me and the remedy. I be doing too much. I be doing shit I really shouldn't do for real. Yeah. That's why I always say come through for real. After this time I'll be through for real. After this time I'll be through for real. I be doing shit I really shouldn't do. That's why I always say come through for real. Baby, where you at? After this time I'll be through for real. Bring me there. After this time I'll be through for real.
I ain't gonna lie, I be playing this hoe when I be smoking, cause I be trying to quit. I thought I was the real show like shit.
Really good to see you. It's good to be back.
How's everything going?
Everything's great. It's been a busy year.
Excellent, excellent. So, is there something you're working on that you're really excited about?
I am actually working on an action film with Brent Fayez.
Exciting. Super dope. I'm happy for you. Are you guys happy for it?
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's a cut, guys. That's a cut. Moving on to our next setup. We're going to go to the other stage. Come on.
So artsy. Okay, first time seeing that shit. Song, but it's real though. Bruh. Every time I roll up, I be doing shit I really shouldn't do for real. That's why I always tell you go through for you.
What's up, guys? My name is Jake, and welcome to Abandoned, episode 55. Back in the summer of 2019, we went on a road trip through the northeastern United States. It was the same road trip where we filmed the astonishing Nevele Hotel, and for some reason we were approaching Atlantic City for the ending of our journey. But we weren't going there to enjoy the beaches or try our luck in the casinos. For a while now, I've known about a troubled hotel development on the New Jersey coast. A massive, modern glass tower that looks like a shining star and an otherwise somewhat dated skyline of aging casino hotels. One that at one point was abandoned. So, me being me, of course I wanted to check it out for myself, and while it was a pleasant stay, it got me thinking on how this architectural marvel failed so spectacularly. So, since my last episode in the Abandoned series was on an insane project that burned through millions of dollars, I figured this particular property had its own insane story to tell. One concluding with the resort that still isn't finished today. So let's take a deeper dive into the Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, or formerly known as the Revel Casino Hotel. This episode has been made possible by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help support the channel and get a bunch of great perks in return, go to patreon.com/brightsunfilms or click the link in the description below. It all started in 2006 when the investment bank Morgan Stanley purchased a 20-acre parcel of land adjacent to the Showboat Hotel and Casino. They spent around $70 million on it with the hope to build a massive and world-renowned casino resort. They placed an industry executive by the name of Kevin DeSanctis in charge of developing this ambitious plan, and by mid-2007, Morgan Stanley announced their official plans for what they intended to do at the site. This included 2 massive 700-foot hotel towers which were comprised of over 4,000 rooms. This sat above a huge casino with parking space for around 7,000 cars. This was obviously ambitious, especially for the time, as these towers would have been the tallest in all of New Jersey. So eventually later that year, the project was scaled back to just 1 hotel tower for now, with an opening date of 2010. It was called the Revel Casino Hotel. Construction broke ground in late 2007 and went vertical by early 2008. However, those dates are probably sounding a little tedious to all of you.
Yeah,
2008 wasn't exactly the best year to be building a luxury, massive casino, as the United States was facing a detrimental recession. Atlantic City was instantly put in a dreadful situation as consumers weren't spending as much excess income there, and by early 2009, funding for construction was quickly running out, which led to thousands of workers being laid off. Progress then slowed just as the tower was topping out. Suddenly, the Revel appeared to be not such a great idea as the shining tower rose above a now depressed area. By April of 2010, in a shocking move, Morgan Stanley decided to pull out of the project after investing over $1.2 billion.
Jesus Christ.
They decided to take a $900 million loss rather than spend the additional $1 billion it would take to finish the project. Because of this, Revel was put in a precarious situation as the half-finished casino was left in limbo. This prompted the remaining developers to scramble, trying to find the necessary funding to keep the construction going. But in a move which, for those of you who watched my American Dream Mall video may find, similar, let's say, New Jersey's then governor Chris Christie had stepped in and announced his state government would be providing $260 million in financing. So now, with the state backing this resort, Revel had refined their project, now canceling the planned second tower and scaling back their hotel rooms to just 1,000. Actually, that second tower was already being built when the developers had canceled it. In early construction photos, you can actually see vertical construction on it alongside Tower 1. However, once it was abandoned, the already built structure was just topped off just a few floors high, and the planned rooms just became other spaces. So now as you look at the building from certain angles, it clearly shows that a second tower was already somewhat built before it was abruptly canceled. Morgan Stanley eventually sold their stake for just $30 million on March 2nd, 2011, and a day later, construction had finally resumed. The dormant site once again sprung to life, and now with consistent progress, an opening date was announced for April 2nd, 2012. Finally, after 6 years of development, the Revel Casino Hotel, Atlantic City, officially opened to the public. The resort had so far cost $2.4 billion to get the doors open. However, that's not to say what they finished wasn't good quality. The resort itself was modern and aesthetically pleasing, with wide open concourses, great views from the many hotel rooms, and lots of amenities. However, on the casino side of things, it ranked almost at the bottom of Atlantic City's 12 major casinos in terms of winnings. Revel had a pretty lackluster grand opening, yet officials and politicians celebrated the 10,000 new jobs the resort created. Governor Christie said in the official press release for the opening, quote, "The completion of Revel and its opening is a turning point for Atlantic City and a clear sign that people once again have faith in the city's ability to come back and be successful." Revel was often thought to be the saving grace for the city, a luxury resort to start a new chapter for the area. However, in reality, Revel's financial situation told an entirely different story. By the
Everybody should
second
do that
quarter of
shit.
2012, the resort lost more than $35 million, which was preceded by an even worse third quarter loss of $37 million. By November, casino officials were throwing up the red flags of a potential bankruptcy, just as Atlantic City claimed Revel failed to pay $12 million in property taxes. They also still owed over $50 million to independent contractors. Despite securing over $100 million in long-term loans, the resort still couldn't keep up with the massive amounts of money they were losing. By February
this
of
might be a good one.
2013, just 10 months after opening, Revel had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. They were over $1.5 billion in debt. In the filing, Revel had declared that the resort's value had dropped from almost $2.5 billion to now just $450 million. They also
It ain't even
revealed
worth
that their
that
current
shit.
trajectory, they wouldn't be profitable
Start
until
like 4.5.
2017. The resort had ultimately not found any way out of their dire situation, and after a second bankruptcy petition, in August of 2014, Revel announced that no buyers were found to bail the hotel out of its debt, and unbelievably, they added that the Revel Hotel and Casino would close on September 2nd, 2014, just 2.5 years after opening. So
Damn.
in early September, the Revel
They be
closed
saying that
alongside
shit.
3 other major casinos in Atlantic City. Now the biggest question was, what was going to happen to the almost brand new mega hotel? Glenn Straub, a developer, decided to bid on the project and eventually won, taking control under his golf course company. So in early 2015, he purchased Revel for just $82 million. That's just 3.4% of what it costs to build. Straub renamed the complex to Polo North and claimed the hotel and casino would be open for business by the summer. During this time, the city had actually cut power and water to the building for around 20 days, as the energy companies were engaged in a fee dispute, all while the mega hotel and casino sat empty and now abandoned. Through the rest of 2015, the property was only allowed cold running water and was eventually threatened by the local sewage company to withhold their dumping privileges. Glenn, however, had high hopes for his hotel, stating in early 2016 that the resort would be reformatted into a family entertainment destination, which would also now feature a water park. He also put a new opening date on the table for June of that year. For being abandoned going on almost 2 years at this point, the building itself was apparently in pretty good condition. This was likely because critical engineering staff was kept running the building, keeping it up so major damage wouldn't be inflicted. But all of that came at a cost. They were supposedly spending around $1 million every month just on maintenance. Straub had apparently ensured everything was ready to go, but as summer 2016 came and went, Polo North never opened. Later that year, Glenn revised his intended opening date for now early 2017 and announced a new name for the resort, 10 Atlantic City. However, as you probably guessed, it never opened. After empty promises and little hope from the public, the resort was sinking further and further back into debt. Rumors then began circulating that 10 was seeking a buyer and that its current owners didn't even have the means to open it. Finally, on January 8th, 2018, those rumors had actually turned out to be true when it was announced that a company called AC Ocean Walk would acquire the resort for around $200 million. And now, finally, someone was serious about opening this property back up. AC announced that their company would invest another $175 million to bring the abandoned and slowly decaying structure back up to a presentable state for opening. Finally, the hotel was renamed for the last time to the Ocean Resort Casino. And after almost 4 years of sitting empty and effectively abandoned, the not-so-new resort reopened on June 27th, 2018. The hotel opened with over 100,000 square feet of gaming, 19 restaurants, 6 bars, and a full spa. The property also boasts an expansive set of common areas, lobbies, and conference rooms. Most of the original decor, however, is unchanged from the original Revel Hotel, most notably in the guest rooms, as they're pretty much the exact same as they were in the original. Overall, the entire structure is around 6.3 million square feet, which is almost the same size as the Pentagon, so it's pretty large. When I visited, I actually didn't know what to expect, and when I first entered, I was taken back by how actually massive the facility is. I did enjoy the architecture, and I thoroughly enjoyed our room. The views were especially nice. I think the best part about it, though, was the price. King rooms can be as cheap as $49 a night, which is astonishingly good. We've spent more on another dirty room, and haven't exactly gotten these types of accommodations. However, with that being said, the resort is a bit of a maze, which tends to happen when a building this large is designed for another client. There's also the fact that the resort still isn't really finished. There are several large rooms and even floors in the main tower that are completely unfinished. There are actually 12 entire empty floors where around 600 extra rooms were framed, yet never built. What's even more strange is that these unfinished rooms are in between active finished rooms. So guests are actually staying above and below a section of the hotel that is just unfinished. I suppose it's one of the last remnants of the tumultuous past for this property. So what's happening now? Well, when the resort first opened, they were still not profitable and even sparked rumors of another bankruptcy. The new company which owned it was led by a man named Bruce Diefenbach. However, just 6 months into operating the struggling resort, he was abruptly killed in a single car crash. The result of his death behind the wheel was from an apparent medical event. So one of his primary lenders assumed control of the resort in early 2019, and after another $70 million was pumped into the hotel,
This
the
hotel not
results
supposed to
are
open.
finally positive. According to them,
Universe is
Ocean,
like
for the
super
first
fucking
time
cool.
ever, was self-sufficient in 2020 prior to the global pandemic. However, of course, due to the events of COVID, it forced the hotel to temporarily close. I am almost positive that the property will not make any money through 2020 for many reasons. Mostly because they had to shut down and they won't be able to fill the hotel to their desired capacity. And that sets an unknown course into the future, since who knows how long that will last and how big of a financial impact it'll have. My feelings on this are a bit mixed. On one side, I enjoyed our room there. Waking up to the view was great, and the restaurant we ate at was pretty good. It was an interesting experience walking through something I knew had had such a rough history and even sat abandoned for a couple years. But there was also a weird feeling I got there. Like, everything wasn't exactly right, and everything was hastily being held together for something that might just collapse. But I guess I am a bit biased since I rather dislike casino hotels altogether. I guess in the end, the story of this building was the most interesting part about it. The otherwise seemingly standard modern mega resort hides in plain sight unless you know the actual story. Unfortunately for them, however, most people in the area do. To me, the fact that it went through so many owners, burned through literal billions of dollars, then sold for a fraction of that is unbelievable. You would never think a building so modern and fancy would have gone through a nightmare it did, but here we are. It's been 14 years and the Ocean Resort is still not really finished. And it really is hard to find anyone else but the developers to blame for wasting so much time and money. So I guess in the end, it was the Revel who had the gambling problem. I want to give a huge thanks to my wonderful and generous Patreon supporters. If What's up, guys? My name is Jake, and welcome to Abandoned, episode 63. The sparkling city of Las Vegas has always been known for its often over-the-top resorts. Las Vegas Boulevard is densely packed with incredible structures, all very much successful. But I've always wondered what happens when a resort doesn't do all that well, or perhaps never even got the chance to find out. Today I wanted to look at the Ghost on the Las Vegas Strip, a towering structure seemingly so close to being finished, but in reality has been sitting there abandoned for over a decade. So join me as I seek out what happened to the never-opened Fontainebleau Las Vegas Hotel and Casino. This episode is brought to you by me and my brand new feature-length major video-on-demand service. It all began with Donald Soferberry Associates, a real estate development company owned by billionaire Donald Sofer. His company purchased a 21-acre parcel of land at the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Elvis Presley Drive. The existing structure on the property was the Thunderbird Resort, which eventually closed in 1992 as the El Rancho. Turnberry had high ambitions for this land and soon demolished the existing structure. Their plan was to build a massive 2,000-room hotel and casino themed on the City of London, with a towering lodge building made to look like Big Ben. However, this coincided with the events of September 11th, 2001, and tourism took a big hit. The London resort was ultimately cancelled, and Turnberry moved on to other projects like purchasing the adjacent land to their existing Las Vegas property and building condos. Turnberry was also keeping busy with developing the residences at a luxury hotel in Miami Beach called the Fontainebleau. It was a hotel built in the mid-1950s and carries a lot of historical weight to it, even listed as a historical landmark and overall iconic hotel in South Florida. They saw Fontainebleau as a valuable name and potentially a valuable brand, which could see multiple iterations across America. So, in 2005, a private corporation was set up to manage new developments to the brand, co-owned by Turnberry Associates and managed by key industry executives. This, along with their previous land acquisitions, all pointed to a West Coast expansion. And sure enough, by May of that year, the Fontainebleau Las Vegas Hotel and Casino was officially announced. This project was even bigger than the original London-themed resort. Fontainebleau Las Vegas was nothing short of colossal. Across 3.4 million square feet, the resort would feature a casino, a convention center, a 3,200-seat performing arts center, a 300,000 square foot shopping district, 27 restaurants and bars, nightclubs, a 60,000 square foot spa, a 7-acre pool deck, and 3,889 rooms, made up of both hotel and condo units. In addition, the sprawling and high-tech resort would also feature brand new Apple iMacs in each room, replacing the traditional resort information booklets. With 63 floors, the Fontainebleau was set to become the tallest building on the Strip, and one with an enormous price tag. The cost to get the doors open for this mega hotel was set at around $3 billion. With construction financed, ground was broken in early 2007. The funding mainly came from loans worth billions of dollars from multiple big banks, all to see this resort through, now with an anticipated opening date of fall 2009. As construction went vertical, the global economy went the other way. And I bet you're thinking to yourself right about now that taking on billions in bank loans, developing a tour-centered project, especially one that big, was a bad combination. And you're absolutely right. The 2008 recession has become a bit of a theme lately on my channel. So you'll know that having construction projects that are heavily leveraged off of loans during this time was extremely risky. But as the recession dried up trillions, Fontainebleau claimed that they were still financially sturdy and the construction continued on. Behind the scenes, however, they were in significant debt. Despite this and staying true to their word, construction did continue on, and as bankers sobbed on Wall Street, the 63-story tower topped off, becoming the tallest building on the Las Vegas Strip. However, while they seemed to be almost immune to the financial crisis, their luck on this big gamble was about to turn. By September of 2008, the collapse of the financial institution Lehman Brothers had put a gap in their retail portion of Fontainebleau's funding. Additionally, Moody's, a credit rating agency, had downgraded their loan, citing they had declining faith in the project due to decreased demand for gambling. As glass began to cover the tower, by December a condo preview center opened with apparently a lack of much interest, especially as other resorts in the area who were also selling condos were struggling. During this time, Fontainebleau Resorts also embarked on a $1 billion renovation to their Miami hotel and marketing campaign to raise brand awareness. At this point, the Las Vegas resort still had the necessary funds to complete construction under the assumption that they would adequately sell enough condo units. But with a loss of confidence from the larger banks, they terminated an $800 million revolving loan with Fontainebleau. This prompted the resort to sue the group of lenders, filing a $3 billion lawsuit. They claimed that the banks failed to uphold their commitment even though they had received billions from the federal government's bailout. I could understand their point on that actually. However, it was later revealed by those banks that the developers had gone over budget and requested over $1 billion in debt forgiveness. So those banks decided that they were in violation of their loan agreement and pulled the plug on them. By this point, the resort was nearing 70% complete, with an opening date expected for October of 2009. Whether or not they were actually going to meet that deadline was sort of contingent on this loan. Construction was then dramatically reduced once another lender to the project pulled their money out of Fontainebleau. This resulted in a mass layoff to construction workers, and progress was then very slowly made. In addition to this, the developers caught wind that one of those big banks who pulled their money, Deutsche Bank, had, according to them, a conflict of interest as they were heavily invested in another resort being built on the Strip. An amendment to their original lawsuit was filed, now including this claim that Deutsche was essentially sabotaging the Fontainebleau project. These allegations were eventually dropped, however. So obviously things were going smoothly, and it really only got worse from here. This was because of a lawsuit filed, this time against Fontainebleau, from CCCS International, a construction consulting firm who had claimed a myriad of monetary negligence allegations on the part of these developers, and essentially poor decision-making that led to them going over budget and, quote, fraudulent billing practices. This lawsuit also revealed that the true cost to finish the complex would be around $3.5 billion. Around $600 million more than the original expectation. It was also later revealed that internally, the developers had multiple budgets, one that they would call bank budgets, and others that allegedly had the true cost as, quote, Jeff's budget, or, quote, real budget, which, in other words, is fraud. The Las Vegas Sun wrote a fantastic article about all the madness that was going on here and what that lawsuit alleged. So I've left a link in the description below if you want to go read it. With executives bailing and only around 250 construction workers left on payroll, the almost dormant project had reached its tipping point. With no money left from loans, Fontainebleau declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection with over $2 billion in debt. By the conclusion of that year, the pressure was on to get the loans flowing back to Fontainebleau, as Turnberry ended up suing them, which essentially was suing themselves. It gets very complicated during this time, but the main point was that they were trying to get extra loans, which they failed to do because the economy was still in turmoil. Also, they didn't exactly have the best track record thus far. Almost immediately after the bankruptcy, the judge had ordered the property to be sold as soon as possible. Companies such as Wynn and Penn toured the property. Ultimately, Penn and a rather infamous businessman got into a bidding war, and the latter eventually won, paying $148 million for the unfinished resort. That businessman being Carl Icahn. And if that name sounds familiar to you, that's because that was the man who essentially ran TWA into the ground. He took possession in April of 2010 and stated that he would wait for the economy to recover before construction would resume to finish the hotel. An estimated $1.5 billion would still need to be invested to get the project across the finish line. However, Icahn's intentions weren't exactly clear, as by the end of the year, he sold off all of the interior fittings intended to go inside Fontainebleau. This was later confirmed by Time, as over the next few years, nothing was announced. The massive, unfinished building continued to sit abandoned right along the busy Las Vegas Boulevard. The barren landscapes to the north of the property revealed how far it had to go. The rusting scaffolding still in place from construction was still visible from the sidewalks, as was the towering steel beams of the lower levels of the structure. The project was far enough along to where you could actually make out what the general spaces were going to be like, yet ones that were never covered. That was apart from the drywall and siding that were almost finished, yet stuck in a limbo state, so close to being done. The tower itself too was in somewhat of a completed state, with the enormous facade covered by glass, only broken by a few panes that shattered or fell off. It really does look like a decaying ghost structure. On the opposite side of the tower, a massive portion of the structure spanning the entire height was entirely exposed. This was for the crane and service elevators that were still in place well into 2014. Later in that year it was removed, and adhering to the city's request to improve the sightlines of the abandoned Fontainebleau, Icon paid to have the facades covered with tarps and paint. Of course, a minor fix to a much, much larger issue. Around this time, that lawsuit from 2009 was finally settled. Remember that $3 billion lawsuit Fontainebleau filed against the larger banks? Well, a judge ultimately came back and sided with the banks. Anyways, back in Las Vegas, it appeared that the skepticism of Carl Icahn's true intentions to restore the property were well-founded, as in 2015, he put the property up for sale at $650 million. Ultimately, it was sold in August of 2017 by two private investment firms for $600 million. Remember, Carl Icahn bought it for around $150 million just 7 years prior. So yeah, he probably made over $400 million on this abandoned property. Now these new owners purchased the resort fully knowing that it would take another $1.5 billion to get it done. Their plan was to actually do something with the property and secured the loans from multiple big banks, including, oh look at that, Deutsches. They took on new partners and began actively moving forward with developing plans. In February, a partnership with Marriott was announced along with a new name for the resort, the Drew Las Vegas. This reimagining would feature a JW Marriott and an ultra-luxury Edition hotel on the top floors. Existing portions of the hotel were promised to be redesigned, and a new opening date was set for 2020. This was later postponed to 2022 by the project leader and real estate investor Stephen Witkoff. He claimed that more time was needed for designing, and to be fair, the concept art released for the new hotel shows a radical design change from the original 2007 rendering. By January of 2020, Witkoff announced that they were very close to securing a $2 billion loan needed for construction, which soon after would get the momentum going. Finally, it seemed as though this resort would have a bright future after all. But just like the 2008 crisis, I'm sure you're probably assuming what global catastrophe is coming next. Of course, by March 2020, the pandemic had forced construction to stop and really just derailed the whole project. You're gonna have deja vu with this. A few months later, the developers were facing accusations from a construction firm claiming they performed work that was unpaid. And by June, they were the recipients of a lawsuit filed by former executives at the Drew, claiming they were not being paid for what their contracts called for after being laid off. Now, this lasted through the rest of 2020 with very little work actually made on the Drew. But if this story wasn't tedious and weird enough, in February of 2021, the property was once again sold, this time to Jeffrey Sofer, the son of Donald Sofer, who started this whole thing. It's part of his new company, now named Fontainebleau Development, and this purchase was a joint venture between that company and Koch Industries. That's right, Fontainebleau is back. While the purchase price was not disclosed, it could be assumed that they bought it at market value, which was around the same price that the last owners bought it for. But still, the project needs well over $1 billion to get it finished. It seems that's why they partnered with Koch, America's largest private company, and despite whatever you may think of them, they certainly have deep pockets. Now, at the time of making this video, it really isn't clear on what Fontainebleau Developments plans to do with the Drew. They haven't announced an opening date, or even if they plan on changing the name back to Fontainebleau. The only thing we do know is that Marriott will stay on as their hotel partner. However, since this is an entirely new company coming in, they likely need to completely redesign the interiors again, which of course takes time. I think in the end, this start has the most promising future, considering they are essentially backed by a Goliath in private money. There is certainly a lot of pressure from the city and state to get this project finished, but really the public reaction has been mixed at best. Some might even say that the building as it stands now looks sort of dated, and that's probably because it's a design from the early 2000s. Will this monster resort even make enough money to become economically viable? I think that's one of the many issues Fontainebleau developments are going to have to overcome, and who knows how long that will take. While that happens, the tower will continue to sit abandoned, unfinished, and decaying on the north end of the strip, certainly not helping the North End's reputation. This project began with so much hype and ambition to create the tallest and one of the largest resort complexes in the entire country. Billions of dollars being funneled into what was supposed to be the next big hotel brand. But poor financial dealings and bad timing killed their momentum and ultimately put everything to waste. Well, for now. In the end, Fontainebleau Las Vegas has kind of come full circle, but with little confidence from the public that anything will really happen. As it stands now, it's quite possibly the largest physical reminder of the 2008 recession.
Two windshields.
So it's been almost 2.5 years since I began working on my first feature documentary. If you don't already know, I wanted to make a film.
W vid, but W documentary, yeah, that shit hard. Alright, but I ain't gonna lie. I'm about to go to sleep, man. I'm about to go to sleep. Oh damn. I don't even know if y'all niggas can hear me, bro. I'm gonna go to sleep. I hope y'all can hear me through that whole motherfucking shit, bro. But yeah.